Chapter 2253, Ultimate Kill. Without Jian Wushuang needing to remind him, Emperor Bai had already executed his punisher's hell as golden waves plunged for Old Monster Jiao. But as Old Monster Jiao, a crimson region had formed, blocking against the golden waves. The golden waves were not able to dissipate the crimson region, and Old Monster Jiao was left unharmed. Crap, Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai's faces were sour. They could tell that they had forced Old Monster Jiao to his limit. The Crimson Secret Restriction must have been his last resort. If they were not able to take down Old Monster Jiao, all their efforts would go down the drain. The Old Monster Jiao, he had gathered 20-odd chaotic divine demons at such short notice to take revenge for his scaly. If they were not able to take down Old Monster Jiao, he would continue to try to take revenge. There would be more ancient-era experts by then. Because of that, Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai were determined to keep him. But now, he's too fast. My moon-picking skills not able to reach him, nor any of my other secret skills. Jian Wushuang's eyes went cold. If I used secret skills of Star Palace, it spread Punisher's hell's radius tenfold to limit his speed. But now he's already escaped to the edges of the golden divine power sea. I won't be able to stop him no matter what. Emperor Bai was indignant. Both of them chased him as hard as they could, but the distance between them was only getting wider. They watched as he reached the edge of the golden divine power sea and rushed out of its radius. It was impossible for them to chase him after he had escaped the divine power sea. Can we do nothing but let him escape? Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai were very indignant. But at that moment, something bizarre happened. Outside the divine power sea, where Old Monster Jiao was, a large hand that seemed to have held the entire sky appeared. The hand was gray and murky and contained another power other than boundless divine power. It was reincarnation power. The hand appeared in front of Old Monster Jiao without warning. Old Monster Jiao was in a miserable state. The crimson secret restriction between his brows was still there. They were not that easy to activate. Furthermore, he had been seriously injured by Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai. He was like an oil-exhausted lamp. Luckily, he had escaped the golden divine power sea before the crimson secret restriction had dissipated. That meant that he had successfully escaped. All he needed to do was to escape and restore his powers. Emperor Bai and Sword Emperor. Old Monster Jiao clenched his fists in rage. You two shall wait. I will be back. No chances will be given to you, then. If 20 is not enough, it'll bring 200. Just wait and see. He was already planning how to take revenge against the Sanctuary Alliance. But at that moment, the large hand that seemed to have held the entire sky appeared. What? Old Monster Jiao was in a state of shock. He had his eyes dead on that hand. The hand's endless reincarnation power could have been easily blocked if not for the injuries sustained from when he was fighting Jian Wushuang. Furthermore, he was already on the run for his life. This aura, it's you, old geezer. Old Monster Jiao let out a hysterical roar, for he had recognized the owner of that hand. He was completely enraged because he recognized it. Fit of rage. He had never expected to fall into the old geezer's trick after escaping from Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai. No, with a roar, the Old Monster Jiao was completely covered by that hand. Under his resistance, the hand did not kill him, but slapped him with terrifying power. He had originally been on the run, with Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai behind him. Now, he was being slapped back by the palm, in the direction of Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai. There's our chance. Jian Wushuang was elated as his 9 Hongjun golden swords went bursting out. The Blood Mountain sword was rolled out as well. Chi, chi, chi. Old Monster Jiao's body could no longer defend against the golden streaks of light, and had his head cut off by the sword of Jian Wushuang. Old Monster Jiao, who had dominated the ancient era with a name back in the absolute beginning divine world, was now dead. Xiao, Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai gathered together to witness the decapitated old Monster Jiao, and heaved a sigh of relief. He's finally dead. He's dead at last. While Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai were relieved, they were still gasping regarding what had happened. The ancient era experts were not to be underestimated even under the restrictions placed on the earth. The ancient era experts that Jian Wushuang had slaughtered were a chaotic divine demon at best. But old Monster Jiao was terrifying, even under the restrictions, regardless of Jian Wushuang or Emperor Bai, none of them to take him down. Even when they had teamed up, he had almost escaped. Jian Wushuang could not imagine how strong he would have been at his pinnacle, like when Jian Wushuang had taken down Blood Emperor. Then what about people like Emperor 13, strong enough to shake and alter the restrictions based on power alone? Ancient era, absolute beginning divine world. I wonder how powerful that place was, Jian Wushuang murmured. Yes, that hand. Emperor Bai opened his mouth. Jian Wushuang's gaze shifted. Chapter 2254. The great sheikh old Monster Jiao had already escaped from the golden divine power sea. He could have made it out. But that giant hand appeared at the final moment, bouncing him back towards where Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai were. That was why old Monster Jiao died. Whose hand was that? Emperor Bai frowned. He only saw the hand, not the person that cast it. If I'm not wrong, that hand was cast by that senior, Jian Wushuang said. That senior? Jian Wushuang, the owner of the hand? Emperor Bai looked at Jian Wushuang. Probably, but I can't be sure either, Jian Wushuang replied. Emperor Bai, I'll leave the rest to you. I'm going to try to find that senior. Okay. If you find him, tell him thanks from the Sanctuary Alliance. Emperor Bai said. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded his head and immediately made his way towards the void ahead. At the edge of that void, Chun-Chi and the other ancient divine demons that Jian Wushuang had chased away had gathered together. The chaotic divine demons and Chun-Chi fell silent. Their eyes were glued on the battlefield. Lord Jiao is dead. Lord Jiao was from the Holy Land. Not only was he powerful, he had many skills up his sleeve, but he was forced to use his life-preserving method, and still he did not make it out. Sword Emperor and Emperor Bai are terrifying. The chaotic divine demons had their hearts in their mouths, but at the same time, they were extremely relieved. They thanked the heavens that they had not been so foolish as to engage the Sword Emperor. They would have become corpses if they did. Right, did you all notice the giant hand? A chaotic divine demon asked. Of course, it was because of that hand that Lord Jiao died. Who cast the hand? I don't know, but the person that did was definitely more powerful than Lord Jiao at his peak. The chaotic divine demon talked about it casually. That hand, Chun-Chi squinted. He had naturally noticed the giant hand, but also the immense reincarnation power it possessed. I thought of someone. Perhaps it was him, Chun-Chi murmured. He's an old geezer from the 7-Star Black Sect, a terrifying old man. The chaotic divine demons around Chun-Chi shifted their gazes towards him. Chun-Chi did not mention the geezer's name, but the chaotic divine demons had had a good guess as to who it was. Okay, regardless, Lord Jiao is dead. Guess we can forget about the divine demon Nirvana elixir, a slouching man said. The other chaotic divine demons shrugged their shoulders with reluctance. Old Monster Jiao had indeed promised them a divine demon Nirvana elixir each after they returned to the absolute beginning divine world. Chun-Chi owed Old Monster Jiao a favor. But now that Old Monster Jiao was dead, the things he had promised would be impossible to retrieve. They had worked in vain. We made the trip in vain and almost lost our lives, a chaotic divine demon said. It was not in vain. We got to see how powerful the Sword Emperor and Emperor Bai were. With the restrictions placed on the earth, them guarding this era would be all too easy. We may be chaotic divine demons, but we are no match for them. They could even take down Lord Jiao. We are nothing but small fry to them. We should lie low for this period of time. If we anger or offend Emperor Bai or the Sword Emperor, we won't even get the chance to escape. Only 3,000 more years until the link passage at Heaven's horizon opens. Let's just stay put. The chaotic divine demons had made their decision. Soon, they all left one by one, including Chun-Chi. As they left, the news regarding the battle spread across the eternal chaotic world to the ears of the ancient era experts that had just awoken. 90% of the awakened ancient era experts were chaotic divine demons. They were all shocked by the news. Lord Jiao of the Holy Land, is dead. Lord Jiao ruled the ancient battlefields, but he died at the hands of two chaotic realm punks. Emperor Bai and that Sword Emperors seem to be impressive chaotic realm experts, especially that Sword Emperor slaughtering a dozen chaotic divine demons alone and sending the rest to run for their lives. Without a doubt, killing chaotic divine demons like us is like killing livestock to them. Even Lord Jiao and Chun-Chi had to run for their lives. Whether you could escape successfully was a different question altogether. We have got to watch our backs. We can't afford to offend them. It took me so much effort to wake up. I'm not going to lose my life to Emperor Bai or the Sword Emperor. The newly awoken ancient era experts had had their reservations towards Emperor Bai in the past, but they did not fear him. To a lot of the chaotic divine demons, even if they were no match for Emperor Bai, they could easily escape. But after that battle, they had a better understanding of Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang. It was evident that Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang could easily kill chaotic divine demons, especially Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang killed chaotic divine demons as if he was slaughtering chickens. Of course, the chaotic divine demons feared him. They kept their heads down and dared not offend the Sanctuary Alliance. Even the experts beyond chaotic divine demon levels started being careful. They only had one life after all. Chapter 2255. Can T-Do a secluded dark void within the eternal chaotic world? Lord Bingshan, these are the resources you need. The quantity may be lower than what you expected, but I have tried my best. The veiled, white-clothed woman, Lung Rushue, stood there and handed a Qian Kuan ring to a burly man with a height of more than 3 meters. He was like a mountain. The burly man received the Qian Kuan ring, glanced at it, and nodded. With this, I can ensure my powers will not deteriorate in the short term. Thank you, Miss Lung. You're too kind, Lord Bingshan, Lung Rushue replied humbly. Master instructed me to ensure you are restored to your full powers. We need you to eradicate the restrictions on the land. Eradicate them completely? Bingshan shook his head. With my current abilities, that's impossible. Lord Bingshan, you could not do it alone, but what if you had help from the awoken ancient divine demons? Lung Rushue asked. Still impossible. Bingshan continued to shake his head. I got someone to do the calculations. There were many experts that were not able to escape, but more of them are weak. They are only chaotic divine demons. Unfortunate experts beyond chaotic divine demon levels, like myself, are scarce. Furthermore, more than half of the experts in sleep have died. They can no longer be woken up. That leaves us with less than 100 ancient era experts. Even with 100 men under your leadership, it should be enough to eradicate the restrictions. After all, there are not many experts around in this era. Lung Rushue was puzzled. If my opponent were cultivators from the current era, I could take them down easily, no problem. But the geezers from the 7-star divine realm have woken up as well. They will not watch me eradicate the restrictions. This is 7-star divine realm. After all, Bing Shan replied. Although most 7-star black sect experts were slain during that battle, a few survived. Those were the strongest beyond chaotic divine demon levels. Even that Emperor 13 survived, and I heard had been active way before we woke up. Yes, Lung Rushua nodded. Emperor 13 appeared twice before you woke up and demonstrated terrifying powers. Emperor 13 was one of the reasons the Blood Emperor died. Emperor 13 may be powerful, but you should be able to resist him, right? Lung Rushua asked casually. Resist? Bing Shan flinched and smiled bitterly. In terms of the level of cultivation base, we are indeed the same. Even if I were slightly stronger than him in terms of cultivation base, that cannot represent the true powers. Emperor 13 went one-on-one against the Master of Holy Land, whereas I would be killed with a flick of that person's wrists. Furthermore, that Sword Emperor could alter and shake the restrictions placed on the land based on power alone, reaching half-step divine demon levels. I cannot go against that. Bing Shan had been an equally famous elite expert during the ancient era. Besides the 7-star black sect experts that had not managed to escape during the ancient battle, the strongest person around was likely Bing Shan. He was much stronger than even Blood Emperor. He was strong, but he also knew his limits. In terms of cultivation bases, he was no worse than Emperor 13. But as for his true strength, you could tie 10 Bing Shans together, and that still would not be enough to go against Emperor 13. With Emperor 13 and those 7-star black sect geezers, it's a joke to say we could eradicate the restrictions. Bing Shan said, right, aren't those experts going to activate the link passage at Heaven's Horizon 3,900 years later? If they could send a batch of experts over here, we could completely eradicate the 7-star black sect. No way. Lung Rushua shook her head. In the first era, Master and the others tried doing this, but they all died along with the many cultivators of that era. Only 3 people survived from that batch of experts. But as the restriction on the Earth expands, the formation gets stronger. Master and the others could find a way to barely open a space tunnel for us, but it would be impossible to send experts over unless Master and the others sacrificed their lives for it. Bing Shan was stunned and smiled bitterly. Lung Ruksha's master was one of those few lords from the absolute beginning divine world. They were mighty and at high positions. They could accept if they had to pay a lighter price. But sacrificing their own lives just to eradicate the 7-star black sect, how could they agree to that? If that is the case, we have no choice, Bing Shan said. We don't have a choice. We can only let this place survive. This piece of land has been sealed up by that formation anyway. There's no way any experts could come from this land anymore. The 7-star black sect poses no threat towards the absolute beginning divine world. Lung Rushua smiled. But at that moment, Bing Shan's gaze shifted. Lord Bing Shan, what is it? Lung Rushua looked over. I just received the news. Jiao He is dead, Bing Shan said solemnly. Old Monster Jiao. Lung Rushua frowned. Jiao He was Old Monster Jiao's full name. Not many people knew that. How could that be? Besides Lord Bing Shan, yourself, Emperor 13, and the other experts, who else could have killed him? Lung Rushua was puzzled. According to the news, Sword Emperor and Emperor Bai from this era took him down. Although another expert came to help, he simply prevented Jiao He from escaping, Bing Shan said. Chapter 2256, from 2 different worlds, Sword Emperor, Emperor Bai. Lung Rushua was shocked. Looks like I underestimated these chaotic realm rascals of this era. This Sword Emperor and Emperor Bai, they are good, especially that Sword Emperor. He slaughtered more than a dozen divine demons while surrounded by 20-odd chaotic divine demons, and with lightning speed as well. With the restrictions placed on this land, even I may not be equipped to go against him. Bing Shan smiled, but he was full of praise for Jian Wushuang. To have reached that level at a chaotic realm, he would have been considered a genius back at the absolute beginning divine world. Sword Emperor, Jian Wushuang, Lung Rushua gave a strange smile. When the link passage at Heaven's Horizon opens in 3,900 years, it'll make my way directly back to the absolute beginning divine world. I won't get to see him anymore. Ha! He said he wanted to save that stupid woman. Looks like that was no more than a joke. Lung Rushua had always had contempt for Jian Wushuang. That was despite Jian Wushuang's jaw-dropping speed of improvement in the eternal chaotic world. Jian Wushuang had surpassed her expectations multiple times, but none of that had changed Lung Rukshu's opinion of him. After all, Lung Rushua was certain she and Jian Wushuang had come from two different worlds in the very beginning. It was true that Jian Wushuang was extremely talented, but his talents were only limited to that world. He was stuck there with no way of leaving those lands. Of course, his achievements were limited. To Lung Rushua, Jian Wushuang had already peaked. Jian Wushuang had no chance of improving, but she was different. She had the heavenly body and a master of Holy Land-level teacher behind her. 3,900 years later, she would head towards the absolute beginning divine world through that link tunnel and truly begin to emerge. She would rise step by step in the absolute beginning divine world, eventually surpassing her master. But Jian Wushuang would forever be trapped in that land. Chaotic realm would be the highest attainable for him. Poor Jian Wushuang. Lung Rushua shook her head and laughed. The moment news of old monster Jiao's death spread, Jian Wushuang made his way to another void at lightning speed. Before long, he was in a dark void and saw a white-haired elder standing there quietly. The white-haired elder squinted his eyes. He was like a ball of air, no aura exuding from him at all. He stood there as if he was waiting for Jian Wushuang to arrive. Jian Wushuang's eyes were fixed on the elder the moment he saw him. It's him after all. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and stepped forward. Young Jian Wushuang, I am here to pay respects to the one-star man, Jian Wushuang said respectfully. The respect was sincere. The white-haired elder indeed deserved the respect of Jian Wushuang. He was greatly indebted to Jian Wushuang. Back at the Buddhist Demon Sea, as Jian Wushuang was being chased down by Acheron Palace at that edge of life and death when old monster Jiao's dragon had attempted to eat Jian Wushuang, it had been him. He had saved Jian Wushuang's life. Not only had the one-star man stopped the black water dragon, but he had also provided Jian Wushuang with a decent opportunity before escorting Jian Wushuang out of the Buddhist Demon Sea. One-star man had both guided and saved him. Jian Wushuang naturally had great respect for him. Jian Wushuang also knew that the great hand that had stopped old monster Jiao outside Thunderbolt Island had been performed by the one-star man. Jian Wushuang? Lad, that is your name? One-star man opened his calm, stagnant eyes and glanced upon Jian Wushuang. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded. I watched you fight old monster Jiao. It's only been a few thousand years, but your powers have improved so much. One-star man was impressed and shocked. When he first met Jian Wushuang at the Buddhist Demon Sea, he had been but a real god lad. Even though he already had good fighting power, old monster Jiao, one-star man, and maybe even the dragon could take down Jian Wushuang easily. To be able to force old monster Jiao to such a predicament, I think even I am no match for you, one-star man said casually. Nonsense. Your powers are limitless, but only restricted to the rules of this land. If not for that, you could take down thousands of lads like me in an instant. Jian Wushuang laughed. He was flattering him, but there was some truth in it as well. He could only take down the ancient era experts due to the restrictions. Without it, even a chaotic divine demon could have pressed him down. Indeed, experts like Old Monster Jiao and One Star Man could have killed him without wasting a single breath. Ha! You talk well. One Star Man laughed in a way that may or may not have been genuine. Jian Wushuang straightened himself and said, "Thank you so much for your help. If not for you, Old Monster Jiao would have escaped." "It's nothing." One Star Man waved his hand. "I just happened to be around. Old Monster Jiao was from the Holy Land, my enemy since the beginning. My consciousness incarnation fought him several times back in the Buddhist Demon Sea. I would never miss the chance to take him down. Thank you regardless." Jian Wushuang was still very grateful. "Oh yes, if you are free, would you care to join me at Thunderbolt Island?" "Thunderbolt Island? It's okay." One Star Man shook his head. "Even though I have awakened, it won't be for long. I do not wish to tangle myself up with the experts of this era." Jian Wushuang was disappointed. Jian Wushuang asked again, "Senior, did you wake up for the link passage at Heaven's Horizon?" "Yes." One Star Man nodded as his gaze turned solemn. Chapter 2257 Reincarnation Pearl. The link passage was formed by the hands of those masters of Holy Land at the absolute beginning divine world. The last time the passage was formed, I was in such a bad condition I could not even awaken. But this time is different. 7-star Black Sect experts, myself, and many more have all awakened. We are afraid the absolute beginning divine world may send another batch of experts to ignite a war. One Star Man's voice was solemn. Jian Wushuang could not help but sink into despair. One Star Man's worries were the same as his. The last time the link passage had opened, absolute beginning divine world had sent many experts down to clear the land. Luckily, experts of the first era had given it their all and sacrificed much to protect the land they stood on. But if they were to send another batch of experts, but it's obvious I am overthinking it, the formation that sealed up the land is way more powerful than it was before. Unless the masters of Holy Land are willing to sacrifice their own lives to open the passage, I don't think they will ever do it. One Star Man laughed. Jian Wushuang heaved a sigh of relief. Emperor 13 had said the same thing previously, but he dared not be complacent. "Does it mean you intend to resume sleeping after the link passage closes 3,900 years later?" Jian Wushuang asked. "Indeed." One Star Man nodded. "Though the formation sealed this earth away from absolute beginning divine world, giving the 7-star divine realm and 7-star Black Sect a chance to survive, the formation takes 99% of spiritual energy from this land to operate. In such an environment, sleeping is the only way to survive." From what One Star Man said, he learnt that the cultivating environment was deteriorating due to the formation. "Senior, I know a place, a cultivating environment that is way better than eternal chaotic world, and the spiritual energy rises across time. Maybe you should go there." Jian Wushuang said, Such a place exists." One Star Man was shocked. "My hometown, Green Fire World. I could take you there if you want," Jian Wushuang said. "No rush. I still have some resources to move around. It's been so long since I woke up. Am not in a hurry to go back to sleep, but I'll consider heading there once the link passage closes." One Star Man laughed. "I will be there to receive you." Jian Wushuang smiled. "Oh, if I'm not wrong, you've mastered a bit of reincarnation rules of order." One Star Man asked him suddenly. "Yes," Jian Wushuang nodded. He knew One Star Man was a super expert in space-time rules. Every move he made contained terrifying reincarnation power. It was normal that he could sense that Jian Wushuang had mastered a bit of reincarnation rules of order as well. When I last met you at the Buddhist Demon Sea, I gave you an opportunity, but that was my consciousness embodiment at that time, and that opportunity will be meaningless for you now. Let me pass you something else. One Star Man took out a gray pearl. The gray pearl exuded a gray murky aura and looked very mysterious. This is... Jian Wushuang looked at it confused. Something I made in my pinnacle period, the reincarnation pearl. Not very powerful, but it has a small-scaled reincarnation for you to master a bit of reincarnation rules of order. You only made contact with reincarnation doctrine, not the full reincarnation rules of order yet. It should benefit you. One Star Man smiled. Thank you. Jian Wushuang took it without hesitation and was elated. You're welcome. Remember, after the link passage closes, it'll be bothering you at Green Fire World. Don't go complaining at that time. One Star Man smiled. No way. Your presence would be Green Fire World's honor. Jian Wushuang replied. It was true. If it were another ancient era expert, even from the 7-star Black Sect, Jian Wushuang may not have invited them over, because he did not know how those experts were. But One Star Man was different. He was indebted to him, and after 2 interactions, Jian Wushuang could tell he had no ill intentions. Jian Wushuang naturally welcomed him to the Green Fire World. Now that's settled. They'll make a move first, One Star Man said, and vanished. Jian Wushuang sent him off respectfully, heaving a sigh of relief after One Star Man had left his soul's sensing range. He gazed upon that reincarnation pearl. Reincarnation pearl? This gray pearl? He thought of the gray pearl that helped with inverse cultivation. The reincarnation pearl had a similar material to the inverse cultivation gray pearl, but it gave Jian Wushuang a completely different feeling. Without much thought, Jian Wushuang left. Not long after Jian Wushuang had left, a figure reappeared at that void. It was One Star Man. He still had that faint smile on his face, but now he was holding on to a transmission token. As per your instructions, I've passed the pearl to the lad. I told him the pearl would help him with reincarnation power, but not its real purpose, One Star Man said. Understood. A cold voice came from the other side of the token. One Star Man smiled and left. Chapter 2258. Samsara after the fight at Thunderbolt Island. Most awoken ancient era experts were shocked and decided to simply stay put. The peace of the eternal chaotic world was restored. Jian Wushuang returned to Green Fire World, Wushuang City. In the secret room, Jian Wushuang sat there cross-legged. In front of him was a floating gray pearl. It was the reincarnation pearl. Jian Wushuang closed his eyes as his consciousness entered the reincarnation pearl. Indeed, there was a small reincarnation inside that contained strong reincarnation rules of order. For Jian Wushuang, it was extremely profound. One Star Man handed me something really useful for my reincarnation rules of order. Jian Wushuang smiled and immersed himself in enlightenment. Time passed relentlessly as 3,700 years passed by. There were only 200 more years till the Heavens Horizons link passage opened. That was a very short period of time. Wushuang City, in a large manor. The manor had lush flowers and other sorts of fauna full of life. Jian Wushuang stood there with his eyes shut, hands clenched upon the Blood Mountain sword. Reincarnation, a flower since its germination to its blooming, to its withering will only take months or even days. In such a short period of time, it has undergone one cycle. A tree from its sprout to its eventual natural death, or perhaps it was chopped down, one cycle. A man, from life to death, a cycle. Jian Wushuang was murmuring. Suddenly, he pulled out his sword. He gradually lifted the Blood Mountain sword, then plunged it towards the void in front. It seemed like a normal, powerless jab, but immediately a reincarnation force came pouring out. The lush manor garden immediately withered upon contact with the reincarnation power, losing all signs of life. But that was the beginning. The moment those flowers withered, new ones grew to replace it. Then they withered again. From germination to its withering. From withering to new life. The fauna in the manor seemed to be stuck in a cycle. This is reincarnation. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and gave a faint smile upon seeing it. From life to death, one cycle. From death to life, another cycle. Reincarnation is the cycle between life and death. This sword brings about reincarnation power, allowing life around it to rest and be brought back to life. I shall name the sword move Samsara. Jian Wushuang smiled. Samsara was the name of that sword move. It had been a long time since Jian Wushuang had created his own sword principle. Ever since he had the sword principle Xianluo with him, he had only focused on increasing his own understanding of general swordsmanship. The sword principle Xianluo was enough. Sword principle Xianluo was impressive, but at the end of the day, it was the product of others. It suited Jian Wushuang, but he may not have been able to fully exert the power of it. But self-created sword skills were different. With his own sword principle, he could master it. With Samsara, only Jian Wushuang would be able to demonstrate its full power. Others would find it impossible to fully understand the hidden secrets behind the sword principle, the small reincarnation power within the reincarnation pearl. I learn it for 3,700 years. I'm still far away from one-star man, though. I may be able to use samsara based upon my reincarnation rules of order to affect fauna, but not humans yet. If I attained a higher understanding of reincarnation rules of order to affect cultivators, I could make them reincarnate from life to death, and from death to life in front of me. That would be scary, Jian Wushuang murmured. He knew he was far away from that goal. As he was deep in thought, a figure slowly walked over. Emperor Bai, what brings you here today? Jian Wushuang smiled. It was Emperor Bai. I'm here for something, Emperor Bai said as he looked at the surrounding manor. The flowers in the manor were still going through life and death. What a cryptic method. Emperor Bai was shocked. A mere parlor trick, Jian Wushuang smiled. Emperor Bai gave Jian Wushuang a deep look with a strange expression on his face. 3,700 years ago at Thunderbolt Island, Jian Wushuang's power had already shocked him. At that time, he realized Jian Wushuang's power was perhaps slightly more powerful than him. But now, he realized Jian Wushuang had become more unfathomable than before. Evidently, he had improved tremendously. Jian Wushuang was way ahead of him. The speed of Jian Wushuang's progress is really scary, Emperor Bai exclaimed secretly. Jian Wushuang, I heard you were looking for someone all these years. That person was the original Holocaust sect leader, right? Jian Wushuang flinched, but he admitted without answering. The sect leader was Long Rushue. Since the battle against 3 emperors whirled 30,000 years ago, Long Rushue had disappeared. He had used the Sanctuary Alliance to help track her down, as well, to no avail. But now, Emperor Bai had come down personally. Did you find her? Jian Wushuang asked. Indeed, Emperor Bai nodded. Eternal chaotic world. Seems peaceful these years, but trouble is brewing behind the scenes. Especially those ancient era experts. More have awoken these past 3,000 years. Chapter 2259. The only chance the ancient era experts that woke up have kept their hands to themselves for now in the eternal chaotic world, but their numbers are many. The Sanctuary Alliance would make compromises at times. Recently, we formed a line of communication with them as well. The Sanctuary Alliance learnt not too long ago that it was the Holocaust sect leader that spread the news regarding the opening of the link passage. Many ancient era experts were awakened personally by the sect leader. Emperor Bai said. Jian Wushuang frowned, but his gaze did not change much. Based on what the Sanctuary Alliance knows, the sect leader has a close relationship with one superexistence at the absolute beginning divine world. 200 years later, this sect leader will likely head towards absolute beginning divine world as well. Emperor Bai glanced at Jian Wushuang. He had known long ago about the relationship between Jian Wushuang and the sect leader. That was why he had informed Jian Wushuang as soon as possible. And as he expected, Jian Wushuang's face turned extremely sour after hearing it. Lung Rushue will head over 200 years later. Jian Wushuang murmured, and could not help but clench his fists. No, I cannot let that happen. If she heads for the absolute beginning divine world, I'll lose Shuang. Jian Wushuang knew people of the current era could not pass through that link passage towards absolute beginning divine world. They were all cultivators of the 7-star divine realm. Experts on the other side would definitely slaughter them for that. But the link passage was the only way into the absolute beginning divine world. If Lung Rushue were to pass through it, he could not do anything about it. He would lose his wife. When the link passage opens 200 years later, I must block her. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists. Emperor Bai had obviously read Jian Wushuang's mind. The man behind the Holocaust sect leader is very powerful in absolute beginning divine world, one of the super experts at Master of Holy Land level. The link passage was opened with the help of him and others. With such a huge background, no awoken ancient era expert dares to offend the Holocaust sect leader. It'll be tough for you to block her. Jian Wushuang's face darkened. He knew what Emperor Bai had said was true. If he were to block Lung Rushue when she entered with the other ancient era experts, the rest would gang up on him like a hive of bees. Meaning to say, if he wanted to block Lung Rushue, he would need to go through all the ancient era experts. Shuang is my wife, suppressed by Lung Rushue. If Lung Rushue heads towards absolute beginning divine world, I'll never see my wife again. 200 years later, at the heavens horizon, will be my only chance. I have no choice. Regardless of the price I have to pay, I must block her. Jian Wushuang's eyes were twinkling brightly. He was determined. He knew it would be difficult to block Lung Rushue from the ancient era experts. But he had to do it, whatever the cost, even if it meant giving away his life. Understood. Do what you must. The Sanctuary Alliance, and I will assist you all the way, he said. Thank you, Jian Wushuang said gratefully. No problem. I'll go make the preparations, Emperor Bai said and left. Only Jian Wushuang was left at the manor. 200 years later, heaven's horizon, my only chance. Jian Wushuang was determined. He had to make his move by then. Naturally, he'd have to prepare for it. Emperor 13. Jian Wushuang took out his transmission token. What is it? A cold and emotionless voice responded. 200 years later, the link passage at heaven's horizon will open. I need to block one person, but the others will certainly prevent it from happening, Jian Wushuang said. He knew Emperor 13 would understand the meaning behind his words. He was asking for help. Understood, Emperor 13 replied coldly. Jian Wushuang was shocked. Understood. That was it. Jian Wushuang knew that it probably meant that Emperor 13 had agreed to help. After a deep breath, he took out another token. It was One Star Man's transmission token. He had received it from him when he had passed the reincarnation pearl as well. Now he could keep in contact with him. One Star Man, Jian Wushuang said respectfully. What is it, lad? One Star Man's voice was still mild. Jian Wushuang explained the situation and finally asked, "I was hoping you could help me." "That's it." One-Star Man laughed. "No problem. I will try to block them from leaving anyway. I'll even get my friends to help." It was a bit of a stretch to go against so many ancient era experts with him, Emperor Bai, and the Sanctuary Alliance. But with Emperor 13 and One-Star Man's help, things would go much more smoothly. And One-Star Man would call up his friends as well. His friends were undoubtedly 7-star Black Sect experts that had woken up. Chapter 2260 family Jian Wushuang felt much more confident with the help of Emperor 13 and One-Star Man. What he did not know was, after ending transmission with the One-Star Man, somewhere in the eternal chaotic world, he was giving off a devious laugh. "I was thinking about how to make his move at Heaven's Horizon, but he approached me instead." Perfect. Within Wushuang City, Jian Wushuang was prepping himself for the task 200 years from then. There was not much he could improve in 200 years. What he needed to do was straighten things out. Heaven's Horizon would be different 200 years from now. Previous experiences had shown him that experts all had their limits, but he would face ancient era experts. To them, he was no more than a chaotic realm rascal. It would prove difficult to block Lung Rushua. The dangers that lurked were far beyond Jian Wushuang's imagination. He had a feeling that he might not make it out. Therefore, he needed to settle and prepare everything in case he never got a chance to after Heaven's Horizon. Luckily, Green Fire World and Lineage of Stars had both improved immensely and were way more powerful than before, especially Green Fire World, from which countless experts emerged. Even without Jian Wushuang guarding Green Fire World and Lineage of Stars, no one would dare mess with them. Jian Wushuang simply needed to give the command. Wushuang City, still within the big manor. 3 figures sat around the stone table. They were Jian Wushuang, Wang Yuan, and Su Ro. They were drinking. Haha, what a blast! "Old 3, it's been some time since we had such a gathering." Wang Yuan laughed as he looked at Jian Wushuang. "If Old 3's not training, he's fighting for Green Fire World and Eternal Chaotic World. Unlike you?" Su Ro glanced Wang Yuan. "Ha, true. Wang Yuan nodded. Jian Wushuang joined them and drank with the 2 brothers he had met in the ancient worlds. They were all elated. "It's a pity that Old 2's not here," Wang Yuan sighed. Jian Wushuang's face changed. Old 2 Yang Zishuan had died at the hands of the Devil Church along with Tang Emperor and Emperor Shao. It was like a thorn in their hearts. "I heard that at the ancient era experts' hometown absolute beginning divine world, there are super beings that could reverse time and revive the dead. Maybe they could bring back Old 2, Jian Wushuang said. "Easily said, but where do we find them?" Wang Yuan shrugged his shoulders. Jian Wushuang was dumbfounded too. Indeed, he had inquired after Jian Er if there indeed existed someone that could reverse time and bring back the dead. Jian Er said he had heard legends about it, but he did not know who had done it or how he had obtained those powers. But to Jian Er, it had to be at least a master of Holy Land. Even those are few and far between at the absolute beginning divine world, much less the eternal chaotic world. The strongest person he knew was Emperor 13. But at Emperor 13's pinnacle, he could only wrestle master of Holy Land experts. "It's impossible for now. Maybe when the chance comes," Jian Wushuang said. Wang Yuan and Su Ro nodded. Like that, they drank for 3 days and 3 nights before leaving. After they had left, a man and a woman appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. "Father, mother," Jian Wushuang stood up and smiled. They were his parents, Jian Nantian and Ji Wuming. "Shuanger, I heard you're making preparations for Heaven's Horizon?" Jian Nantian glanced at Jian Wushuang. Jian Nantian as an emperor god and the leader of the Green Fire world, naturally knew about the secrets of the eternal chaotic world. Indeed, Jian Wushuang nodded. For Lung Rushuang? Jian Nantian. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded. Father, you should understand. I do. Jian Nantian looked at him solemnly. Of course, he knew Jian Wushuang's objective and his determination. He knew him. Some time ago, for Ji Wuming, he had given up too much. Through luck, he had been reunited with Ji Wuming. Now it was his son's turn. I do not know much about the ancient era experts, but I trust you, Jian Nantian said. Do it, remember, you are a man. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded and looked at Ji Wuming. The latter looked at him with concern, and without saying much, but that look alone was enough to warm Jian Wushuang up. Father, mother, there is still some time between now and the opening of the link passage. Let's spend some family time together. Jian Wushuang laughed. Sure, Jian Nantian and Ji Wuming did not refuse. The three of them made their way around Green Fire World. Green Fire World was huge and impossible to fully cover in 200 years, even with their skills. Jian Wushuang could only head to familiar places. Like Tang of the East, Jian Wushuang had fought against Lung Di, Dao Yuanzi's Crimson God clone, and Xia clan. He had wed Lung Rushuang there as well. The place contained many memories, but since Tang Emperor Shao, and Yang Zishuan had died, and Tang of the East had been eradicated, there was nothing left. Chapter 2261, Everything Changed Jian Wushuang, and his parents did not stay at Tang of the East for long. Next stop, they went to the star Foggy Sea. He had become a disciple of the lineage of stars there, learnt the secret skills of Star Palace, and met King of Venomous Worms. The star Foggy Sea was still a dangerous place, managed by two people. They were Lord Spirit Sound and King of Venomous Worms. King of Venomous Worms had long stopped leeching off of Jian Wushuang and stayed at Star Foggy Sea. Occasionally, he would morph into a human and roam around Green Fire World. The few drops of ancient clan blood essence were enough for him to live on for a long period of time. As for Lord Spirit Sound was from the ancient era, and Jian Wushuang was sure that she was not the insignificant character she claimed to be. Lord Spirit Sound was under the 7-star Black Sect camp. Only the fittest survived that war. Lord Spirit Sound should be no exception. But if Lord Spirit Sound was not willing to divulge her identity and abilities, Jian Wushuang would not force the matter. Lord Spirit Sound had stayed in the Star Foggy Sea ever since. They spun around without bothering either of them and left. Next, he was at the Firmament Territory. Firmament Territory seemed like a humble frontier in the Green Fire World, but it meant worlds to Jian Wushuang. It was where the ancient sect was. The ancient sect was the sect Jian Wushuang had truly joined besides the lineage of Star, and he had always felt a sense of belonging there. There, he had met his master Xian Yi, and his life had changed since. Even then, he was confused about why Xian Yi appeared within the ancient sect, and why he had taken him as his disciple. He had never understood it, but he knew for sure that he would not be the man he was without his master. Ancient sect was in the middle of a large mountain range. He stood on the void above the ancient sect, watching over everything. Ever since Green Fire World's cultivating environment had changed tremendously, every frontier had been affected, and Firmament Territory was no exception. Thinking back, there had only been 4 Dao Masters at Ancient Sect, and they were considered extremely strong. Now, Dao Masters, they were nothing more than ants. Green Fire World now had countless cultivators of Dao Master level and above. They even had plentiful Heaven Masters, Sector Gods, and real gods. Ancient Sect has managed to remain standing after all those years not only due to Jian Wushuang, but because they had three almighties. One of them was his brother Shui Tian. He had three clan brothers, but after the war between the Jin Kingdom, only Shui Tian had survived. He now held a high position within the Green Fire world. Next was Jian Wushuang's own lineal disciple Lin Lan. Lin Lan had limited talents. His original limit had been at real God, but she had an incredible master, and Jian Wushuang doted on her a lot. Jian Wushuang had gone through several methods to help her break through, and had finally helped her reach Sir God after consuming a high-level elixir found by Wang Yuan. But Jian Wushuang would only help her up to the Sir God level. Jian Wushuang could make her an emperor god with enough resources, but it was not necessary. Being a Sir God was enough for her to roam the eternal chaotic world. Wushuang, you want to go down and take a look? Jian Nantian asked. Jian Nantian and Ji Wuming had been beside Jian Wushuang for some time, but realized he had not moved an inch. It's fine. Jian Wushuang waved his hand. There was no need to interact with the ancient sect cultivators. He made frequent contact with Shui Tian and Lin Lan anyway. Next, let's head to ancient worlds, Jian Wushuang said. Ancient worlds? Nanyang Land? Jian Nantian flinched. Nanyang Land was where they had been born. And the Sword Marquis Mansion, the Sword Pavilion. Jian Wushuang remembered that when he was young, he had trained like mad to take over from his father as master of Sword Pavilion. The last time he had been there, he had known that the Sword Marquis Mansion in Nanyang Land had been eradicated, but its successors had remained. Jian Wushuang and his parents made their way there and started searching. Even after countless generations, they could sense them via bloodline. Not long after, they found the descendants of the Sword Marquis Mansion. Unexpectedly, they came to a large imperial city of a great dynasty. His descendants, the Jian clan, were the royal family. They were in their prime. Not bad. Jian Nantian looked at the imperial city from above with interest. I requested the ancient sect to take care of the descendants, to make sure the lineage does not end. They should have followed my request, and nothing more. Really impressive that they could make a dynasty out of it. Jian Wushuang laughed. The last time he had been at the ancient worlds, only a few people of the Sword Marquis Mansion survived, and they were mediocre. But after a few thousands of years, everything had changed. Not only had the Sword Marquis Mansion lineage passed things down, but they also created a dynasty. It's a shame they won't recognize us ancestors, Jian Nantian said. Of course, Jian Wushuang smiled. Tens of thousands of years was not considered too long at Green Fire World or Eternal Chaotic World, but it was too long for the ancient worlds. The Sword Marquis Mansion had seen countless generations across those years, of course. The descendants would not know about them. They would not know about the Sword Marquis Mansion or Jian Wushuang. The person they worshiped now was the great man that started the dynasty 1,000 years ago. Despite Jian Wushuang being endlessly stronger than that clansman, they did not recognize him. Let's go. Jian Wushuang waved his hand, and they left. Chapter 2262 set off Jian Wushuang, and his parents went to visit many other places. 200 years passed in the blink of an eye. Green Fire World, Wushuang City. A large number of people were gathered there. All of the higher-ups from the Green Fire World and Lineage of Stars were there. Jian Wushuang was in front of everyone. Sword Emperor. Emperor Bai wants to tell you that the Sanctuary Alliance is ready. Once you are ready to go, they can send you to Heaven's Horizon immediately, one of the Emperor God from Sanctuary Alliance said. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded his head as he looked at the people in front of him. Among these people were his family members, his brothers, his good friends, and his disciples. Jian Wushuang looked at them with mixed feelings. "Brother," Wang Yuan said as he gave Jian Wushuang a bottle of elixir. "Wang Yuan, what is this?" Jian Wushuang asked, curious. "There are 2 elixirs inside this bottle. It took me some effort to make it. Take it. You might need it at heaven's horizon," Wang Yuan said. Jian Wushuang opened the bottle in disbelief. He was stunned when he saw the 2 elixirs. Both the elixirs were cream in color and radiated a seductive fragrance. Many experts yearned to have these elixirs. Jian Wushuang recognized this type of elixir. 7 Treasure Divine Elixir. Jian Wushuang was pleasantly surprised. He had had of these elixirs a long time ago. Emperor Bai had given him one when he first sneaked into the 3 Emperors' world, so he could use it just in case his life was in danger. However, Jian Wushuang had still not made use of it. Now, Wang Yuan was giving him 2 of these elixirs. Back in the ancient past, the 7 Treasure Divine Elixir was an extremely high-grade elixir and was very beneficial for Jian Wushuang. This elixir recovered divine power extremely quickly. When Jian Wushuang was still in the first phase of the 7th step inverse cultivation, one of these elixirs was enough for him to recover all of his divine power. Now that he was in the ultimate phase of the 7th step inverse cultivation, he had much more divine power than before. However, the 7 Treasure Divine Elixir was still an extremely useful elixir. Jian Wushuang estimated that all of his divine power could be recovered if he took all 3 7 Treasure Divine Elixirs at the same time. Divine power was extremely important for Jian Wushuang, as he was in the 7th step inverse cultivation, and he possessed the perfect chaotic holy body. If he could recover most of his divine power within a short period of time, it would be equivalent to him having many extra lives. Wang Yuan, older brother, since when can you make such an incredible elixir? Jian Wushuang asked Wang Yuan in disbelief. "Sai, I wanted to try to make this elixir a long time ago, but I always failed to do so. Recently, I locked myself in the secret room and swore that I would only leave after making at least one of the 7 Treasure Divine Elixirs. I was pretty lucky as I made 2, Wang Yuan smiled. Jian Wushuang heard this and felt really grateful. He knew that Wang Yuan was a very easygoing and lazy man. He was considered the best alchemist in the eternal chaotic world. When people looked for him, for his service, he would not bother with them. Even if he agreed because his clients offered him sufficient rewards, he would only make the elixir in his own time. Jian Wushuang thought that Wang Yuan would not try to make the 7 Treasure Divine Elixir, as he had already failed several times. However, Wang Yuan had actually forced himself into a secret room to focus on making this elixir. Jian Wushuang knew that Wang Yuan had done this as Wang Yuan had gotten to know from Emperor Bai that the 7 Treasure Divine Elixir would be an extremely useful elixir for him. When Jian Wushuang's soul was severely injured and he had gone into deep slumber, Wang Yuan had spent more than 20,000 years making the Ice Soul Elixir, just so that he could recover. Without a doubt, Wang Yuan viewed Jian Wushuang as a true brother. "Thank you, older brother Wang Yuan." Jian Wushuang smiled. "Ha, we are brothers. Why are you so polite?" Wang Yuan smiled casually. "Please return early, bro," Su Ro said with a serious tone. As Jian Wushuang's brother and sister, Su Ro and Wang Yuan both hoped that Jian Wushuang could bring his wife back. After all, Su Ro was not an alchemist like Wang Yuan. All she could do was give him her good wishes. For Jian Wushuang, that was more than enough. "Father, mother, all of you, I shall be on my way." Jian Wushuang waved everyone goodbye as he turned and left. Everyone there had mixed emotions as they watched him leave. "My dear husband, why do I feel like he will not return?" Ji Wuming knitted her eyebrows and said, "What are you talking about? You and I both know how capable Wushuang is. Who in this heaven and earth could beat him? He will definitely come back, trust me. Jian Nantian comforted her gently. Yes, Ji Wuming nodded her head. Even though Jian Nantian had spoken firmly, he too was not confident in what had just said. Even he had the feeling that Jian Wushuang would not return. After Jian Wushuang left the Green Fire world, he headed straight for Thunderbolt Island. Numerous great emperors had already gathered on Thunderbolt Island. These great emperors like King Chunxing, King Luo Yu, and Black Dragon Emperor came from the special tribes, and there were some from the Sanctuary Alliance as well. News of a link passage opening up at Heaven's horizon spread like wildfire across the higher-ups in the eternal chaotic world. Many of the great emperors from the eternal chaotic world would not miss their chance to see it. Whoosh! When Jian Wushuang appeared on Thunderbolt Island, many of the great emperors looked at him respectfully. Sword Emperor, Ancient God Emperor. Everyone greeted Jian Wushuang. He nodded his head lightly as he scanned the crowd. However, his gaze paused on Black Dragon Emperor for a short, while before moving on. Black Dragon Emperor had a cold aura. She looked at Jian Wushuang with mixed feelings. Everyone knew that she liked Jian Wushuang, but it was a pity he could not love another woman anymore. After Jian Wushuang had rejected her many years ago, she had given up on him. However, she was curious about who Jian Wushuang's wife was and why he kept thinking about her. Jian Wushuang was here for his wife. Jian Wushuang, you're here, Emperor Bai said as he looked at him. Yes, the linkway to Heaven's horizon should open any time now. Let us not waste time and go. Jian Wushuang nodded his head slightly and said, All right, let's go. Emperor Bai ordered as they left for Heaven's horizon. Chapter 2263, Heaven's Horizon. This was the outermost area of the eternal chaotic world. This was where heaven and earth ended. Here, there was no life, no mountains or valleys. It was just a space that was dark and misty. This was different from the dark space within the eternal chaotic world. The dark space was extremely vast and seemed endless. On the other hand, there was a limit as there was black mist here. It seemed as though there were restrictions in this dark mist that completely blocked off the eternal chaotic world and the absolute beginning divine world. Jian Wushuang and the other experts took a spaceship and set off from Thunderbolt Island, reached their destination quickly. Is that Heaven's horizon? Jian Wushuang stood as he looked at the dark mist in the distance. The dark mist looked so fragile and weak that a gale could simply disperse it. In reality, no ordinary man could open this passageway. Here is the place, Emperor Bai said with a very serious tone. This is where the eternal chaotic world ends. Many years ago during the First Era, many experts from the absolute beginning divine world opened a passageway here and sent in a wave of experts. Most of them were in the divine demon realm. There were also some who were more powerful. That battle was extremely tragic. In that era, countless experts and great emperors sacrificed their lives just to keep this world safe. Now, the passageway is about to open again. Who knows if the people over in the absolute beginning divine world will send in another wave of experts. If another wave comes, it will be a disaster for the eternal chaotic world, as the threat is even greater than that of the three emperors whirled back in the past. The great emperors turned pale when they heard what Emperor Bai said. After all these years, they had gotten to know certain secrets from the First Era and the ancient past from the experts from the ancient past who had awakened. They knew why the First Era had ended. They feared the absolute beginning divine world. Do not worry. The reason why the superpowers from the absolute beginning divine world opened this passageway is so that those experts from the ancient past who awakened can return. They will not completely destroy the eternal chaotic world, Jian Wushuang said. He had discussed this matter with Emperor 13 and One-Star Man and come to that conclusion. Emperor 13 and One-Star Man confirmed this fact, and Emperor 13 sounded very certain, as a man who could go up against the Master of Holy Land. If Emperor 13 said that the absolute beginning divine world would not send in any experts, he should be right. Looks like we are early. Up till now, no expert from the ancient past who awakened has come, the abysmal Saint Master said. The passageway should open in a few days. It is normal for these experts to not come at this time. Let us wait patiently. They should be here soon, Ancestor Tian Chun said. Yes, let us wait, Emperor Bai said. The great emperors from the eternal chaotic world started to wait in this space patiently. Two figures appeared in the distance as they headed towards them at a very fast speed. Here they are, two experts from the ancient past. The great emperors from the eternal chaotic world looked over the two figures who were heading closer. One was an elder with red hair, while the other was a woman with blue clothes. Their auras were far stronger than that of any ordinary great emperor. Without a doubt, they were experts from the ancient past. They noticed the presence of Jian Wushuang and experts after they reached heaven's horizon. They are from Sanctuary Alliance. Emperor Bai, and that man standing right at the front is Sword Emperor. The elder with red hair and the woman in blue clothes turned pale. They were fearful of Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai. Both of them were ordinary experts in the divine demon realm. Under the restriction of heaven and earth, the fighting power they had was similar to that of an ordinary stage 3 great emperor. They were nothing compared to Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai. 3,900 years ago, Jian Wushuang had massacred 11 experts in the divine demon realm. We must be careful. Let us not go over there. If Emperor Bai or the Sword Emperor head towards us, we shall escape immediately, the elder man with red hair said. Yes. The woman in blue clothes nodded her head. They did not know why the group of great emperors from Sanctuary Alliance came to heaven's horizon. They had to be cautious. After all, they would not joke around when their lives were at stake. However, it was evident that Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai did not want to attack them. They were just gathered there, waiting. Time passed in the blink of an eye. More and more experts reached heaven's horizon. 3 days passed. There was not much time left before the passageway would open. Those experts who wished to leave using the passageway had all reached it. In the dark space before heaven's horizon, figures filled the entire space. Some were gathered in groups, while others gathered in pairs. One could see hundreds of experts in a single glance. So many people. These people are all experts from the ancient past. The weakest among them have the fighting power of a stage 3 great emperor. They are much stronger than us. I have carefully counted. There are 138 experts. 138. Oh my God! The great emperors from the eternal chaotic world felt as though there was something stuck in their dry throats. Simply thinking of 138 experts with at least the fighting power of a stage 3 great emperor could make one's hair stand on end. Within the eternal chaotic world, only Jian Wushuang, Emperor Bai, and Jian Yi had the fighting power of a stage 3 great emperor. Jian Yi also came from the ancient past. Luckily, Emperor Bai and the Sword Emperor are around as deterrents. If these experts go wild, Ancestor Tian Chun said, indeed 138 experts from the ancient past would be disastrous for the eternal chaotic world if Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai were not around. Without them, the Sanctuary Alliance would have no way of controlling these experts. The great emperors from the eternal chaotic world felt glad that they had these two incredibly powerful people as their leaders. Chapter 2264 Lung Rukshu's appearance while the great emperors from the eternal chaotic world were looking at the experts from the ancient past. The 138 experts were also studying them with interest. Are those experts from the Sanctuary Alliance? Yes, the two leaders, Emperor Bai and Sword Emperor, are incredibly powerful people. Humph! Incredible only in this heaven and earth. If they were in the absolute beginning divine world, they would be nothing without the restriction of heaven and earth. Looks like Sanctuary Alliance also knows that the passageway is about to open at heaven's horizon. Why are they here? Who knows? They can do whatever they want as long as they do not stop us from returning to the absolute beginning divine world. We did follow the rules within heaven and earth. We did not provoke Sanctuary Alliance at all. They have no reason to stop us. Even if they want to stop us, they must have the ability to do so. That is true. The experts from the ancient past chatted casually. They did not hide their disdain towards the great emperors from Sanctuary Alliance. Many of them did not even take Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang seriously. Those experts from the ancient past only feared Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang due to the presence of restrictions of heaven and earth. Without it, they would be nothing. Even though the great emperors from the eternal chaotic world were angry at the disdainful comments, they did not dare to act out. The passageway is about to open, but the master of the Holocaust sect has yet to appear. Emperor Bai knitted his eyebrows tightly and said, "No hurry. Let us wait patiently." Jian Wushuang said calmly. He had a lot of patience. He knew that Lung Rushua would definitely come if she were to return to the absolute beginning divine world. It would be better if she did not turn up, as that meant she had definitely stayed behind, and Jian Wushuang would not need to go up against the experts from the ancient past. Right then, a unique wave appeared from the black mist at heaven's horizon. Countless numbers of waves spread in all directions like ripples on the surface of a lake. The entire dark space was filled by the unique wave. Is it starting? Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai's irises constricted in shock. Heaven's horizon on its own. This meant that the experts from the absolute beginning divine world on the other side started opening the passageway. The 138 experts from the ancient past also noticed this. They were all elated when they saw the wave gradually getting larger. It is starting. The overlords are opening the passageway. Finally, am I really going to return to the absolute beginning divine world after being in a slumber for so long? Elation, excitement, anticipation. These emotions were written clearly on the faces of the experts from the ancient past. These experts had been trapped in this heaven and earth for far too long. Ever since this heaven and earth had been sealed off using the Great Formation in the ancient past, they had been completely isolated from their hometown. Their family, friends, and clans were all back in the absolute beginning divine world. Who would not miss their hometown? It was a pity they had not been able to do anything to return for such a long period of time. Today, they had finally got their change to leave. How could they not be elated and excited? At the same time that the change occurred to heaven's horizon, two figures appeared in this space. Jian Wushuang immediately fixed his gaze on one of the figures. "They are finally here," Emperor Bai said as he too looked at the two figures. One of them was a young lady wearing white clothes and a veil. Even though the young lady was wearing a veil and no one could see what she looked like, many of the experts were attracted to her aura. This young lady in white clothes was, without a doubt, Lung Rushua. The man who came with Lung Rushua was over 3 meters tall and was built like a mountain. This buff man was Bing Shan. Lord Bing Shan, Hall Master Lung. The experts from the ancient past controlled their emotions and greeted the two respectfully when they saw who they were. Bing Shan was a very powerful man, inferior to only the master of Holy Land. Lung Rushue was the lineal disciple of Master of Holy Land. Both had incredible backgrounds. The experts from the ancient past should treat them with respect. Master has already started. If everything goes well, the passageway will be opened in half an hour. However, my master has also told me that they can only keep the passageway open for 10 breaths. There is nothing he can do if we do not leave by then, Lung Rushue said. 10 breaths? If no one were to stop us, we could pass through the passageway almost instantly. However, if someone were to try and stop us, the situation would be different, Bing Shan said coldly. He looked at the experts from Sanctuary Alliance as he said so. At the same time, Jian Wushuang was also looking at them. To be more precise, he was looking at Lung Rushue. Things will not be as smooth sailing as they could be. Lung Rushue smiled lightly. She met Jian Wushuang's eyes. She knew what he was about to do. Jian Wushuang had come for her. How could he allow her to step foot into that passageway? Jian Wushuang moved. He started walking from the space where the great emperors from the Sanctuary Alliance were. Are you going to do it now? Emperor Bai knitted his eyebrows and said, the best time to stop Lung Rushue was when the experts from the ancient past were rushing towards the passageway when it opened. At that point in time, all of the experts from the ancient past would be fixated on returning to the absolute beginning divine world. At that point in time, Jian Wushuang only had to stop one person instead of fighting them all, as the experts would be selfish and would want to go back to absolute beginning divine world immediately. It would be less likely they would be worrying about others if the passageway was right in front of their eyes. After all, the passageway could not last long. Hence, the probability of success was much higher. However, there were also other risks if they were to stop her after the passageway opened. Chapter 2265 Bing Shan Lung Rushue stood very close to heaven's horizon. This was so that she could enter the passageway immediately when it finally opened. This instant would pass very quickly. Even though Lung Rushue had become the leader of the Holocaust sect, she had never done anything at all, even during the battle back in the Three Emperors world. No one knew how powerful she really was or what kinds of techniques she had up her sleeves. She seemed much more terrifying as no one knew anything about her. If Lung Rushue really had incredible techniques, she could appear within the passageway without giving Jian Wushuang a chance to react at all. Jian Wushuang would not risk that, so he decided to stop her immediately. He would suppress Lung Rushue in front of all of the experts from the ancient past. This was the safest method. However, there were great difficulties that he would face by using this method. Jian Wushuang took 2 steps and appeared in front of Lung Rushue. He stared at Lung Rushue coldly, not speaking a word. The experts from the ancient past looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. Jian Wushuang, it has really been a long time since we last met. Are you still not going to give up? Lung Rushue fixed her gaze on Jian Wushuang as she teased him slowly. 10,000 years ago, I could not have stopped you from leaving the green fire world. However, I will not allow the same thing to happen twice. I will stop you from leaving this heaven and earth at all costs, Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. At all costs, even if it costs your life? Lung Rushue teased again. Even if it costs my life, Jian Wushuang said firmly. Ha, you really are infatuated with her. I do not understand which part of her has attracted you so much that you will do anything for her. Lung Rushue smiled. Heartless people like you will not understand these emotions, Jian Wushuang said. Is that the case? Well, I am excited to see how you will stop me from leaving. Lung Rushue smiled. She turned to the well-built man beside her and said, Lord Bing Shan, sorry to trouble you, but I need your help. Okay. Bing Shan nodded his head. After had awakened, He had received a direct order from that man from the absolute beginning divine world, which was to escort Lung Rushua back to the absolute beginning divine world safely. Bing Shan would give his all because of the person who had given the order. "You are the Sword Emperor." Bing Shan took a step as his giant body blocked Lung Rushua out of sight. "I know that you and Palace Master Lung were friends in the past. However, I suggest that you forget the idea of saving her or simply forget her altogether. Then you will not have to die and can continue to be one of the most powerful men in this heaven and earth and live your life as you wish. If you persist in trying to stop her from leaving, trust me, my lord can kill you even though there are restrictions on heaven and earth." "Is that the case?" "Sadly, I am a stubborn person. If I make up my mind to do something, I will definitely get it done, no matter who gets in my way. Even if your lord were to come into this heaven and earth and stand in front of me, I would not give up." Jian Wushuang smiled mockingly. "You really are a stubborn man. If you wish to die so badly, then I will send you on your way." Bing Shan's face turned cold as he spoke. He then whipped out a green battle axe and held it in his hand. He did not radiate any blade essence. Bing Shan simply stood there, but there were waves of invisible aura spreading in all directions as the surrounding area turned frosty. The freezing space and the freezing air turned into blades as it started to cut experts. Lord Bing Shan is about to attack. This Jian Wushuang really has courage. He dares to stand up against Lord Bing Shan. Lord Bing Shan is one step away from being a master of Holy Land. Even though he is under the restrictions of heaven and earth, his fighting power is still much stronger compared to experts like Old Monster Jiao. The Sword Emperor is overestimating himself. Does he think that after killing some divine demons and Old Monster Jiao together with Emperor, he is now invincible in this heaven and earth? He has yet to meet experts like Lord Bing Shan. Now that Lord Bing Shan is angry, no one will be able to save him. The experts from the ancient past mocked. To them, Bing Shan was unbeatable. Within the eternal chaotic world, only Emperor 13, who had awakened not too long ago, could match him. They thought that both Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai were no match for Bing Shan. Jian Wushuang became serious when he saw the ice blades flying towards him. This man is really strong. He held Blood Mountain Sword in his hand as he prepared himself. Bing Shan stared at Jian Wushuang with his emotionless eyes. Suddenly, a flash of fierce radiance burst forth from his eyes. Whoosh! Bing Shan moved. His body was 3 meters tall and was extremely well built. Even so, he was incredibly fast. As he moved, terrifying tsunamis of blade essence crashed forth. Crash! Him not radiating his blade essence was a choice. When he did, it shocked the world. This sword essence, it is really powerful. Jian Wushuang was shocked. The moment Bing Shan attacked, Jian Wushuang knew immediately that Bing Shan's understanding of the blade doctrine was far deeper than his understanding of the sword doctrine. This was to be expected. After all, Bing Shan was an expert one step away from master of Holy Land. He must have entered the blade doctrine realm. Even under the restrictions of heaven and earth, the blade essence he could use was definitely much more than Jian Wushuang, who was only at initial success in the sword doctrine realm, could. Bing Shan swung his blade. His blade swung in a straight line. A shiny blade light lit up. The moment the blade light appeared, whatever space-time there was in this heaven and earth was frozen. The might of heaven and earth then started fusing with the blade light. The blade light then became even brighter and longer. It seemed endless. In one moment, there was only one blade light in front of Jian Wushuang. In the next moment, the entire space in front of Jian Wushuang became saturated with blade lights. Chapter 2266, The Extreme Blade Doctrine. Jian Wushuang stood and looked at the overwhelming blade lights sweeping towards him. It was as though he was drowning in an ocean of blade lights. It was as thought he had to force himself to keep still, or else the blade lights would tear him apart. This blade principle is really overpowering, Jian Wushuang commented. He was not afraid to meet this challenge. No matter how incredible Bing Shan's blade skills were, they would not be too powerful in this heaven and earth. Here, only the inverse cultivators were unbeatable, as they were the only ones not affected by the restrictions of heaven and earth. Jian Wushuang drew his sword. The moment he raised his sword, an incredible sword essence swept forth. Hum, hum. As he slashed the space with his right hand, an eerie curve was seen as sword lights appeared. The sword lights were like spider webs as they infested the space around Jian Wushuang. Instantly, a giant web made out of sword lights was formed. The sword web seemed endless, and it was as though it could cocoon and destroy everything. The ocean of blade lights collided into the ocean of blade lights head-on. Uft, uft, uft. There were no deafening explosions or collisions. All that could be heard were divine powers neutralizing each other. Even though the ocean of blade lights looked extremely bright and shiny, it could not tear the web of sword lights apart. Within moments, all of the blade lights disappeared. Whoosh! The figure that appeared out of the ocean of blade lights belonged to Jian Wushuang. No matter how powerful your blade skills are, or how deep your understanding of the blade doctrine is, your power is limited to peak chaotic realm. Even though my sword skills are far weaker yours, the power I have is that of the divine demon realm. I can overpower you. I want to see how you are going to go against me. Jian Wushuang said coldly. When his figure appeared, a terrifying wave of divine power crashed forth. The divine power was like a vast ocean. Under his guidance, sword essence ran rampant within the space. Winds were blowing at such great speeds that they could tear any great emperor apart easily. This wind then blew towards Bing Shan, trying to suppress him. Jian Wushuang swung his sword. The sword went for its target immediately. A storm had surrounded Bing Shan completely. Sword Principal Xian Luo. Blast rainstorm. Bing Shan stood tall at the center of the storm. The battle axe he was holding radiated gloom. He had an indifferent expression. An unprecedentedly violent and ruthless aura radiated from Bing Shan. It was as though Bing Shan was a demon from hell, not a human cultivator. It was as though he lost his sense of reasoning. Chop, chop, chop. My battle blade does not back off from anyone. My battle bald is unstoppable. My battle blade will destroy all that stands in my way. Even though Bing Shan was in the middle of a storm, he ignored all defense as he continued his attack with his battle blade. Waves of blade lights were emitted from his hands. Every single blade light looked as though it was headed for infinity and beyond. It seemed powerful enough to slice through everything. He went purely on the offense. Crash! The seemingly endless storm was torn apart mercilessly by the blade light as the storm dissipated. The blade light that was headed for infinity and beyond continued for Jian Wushuang fiercely. Jian Wushuang's face turned pale. This man's blade skills. Jian Wushuang had known that Bing Shan's blade skills were far more powerful than his sword skills from his initial attack. Jian Wushuang's understanding of the sword doctrine was nothing compared to Bing Shan's understanding of the blade doctrine. However, he was not afraid, as Bing Shan was under the restrictions of heaven and earth, which limited him to the power of his blade skills. However, Jian Wushuang had underestimated Bing Shan. Back in the absolute beginning divine world, Bing Shan had been one step away from being a master of Holy Land. His understanding of the blade doctrine was already at the peak. he had already formed his own unique blade doctrine. His blade doctrine was to destroy everything that stood in his way, no matter how powerful it was. He would never back down. His sword doctrine was a purely offensive one. His blade would only attack, never defend. In other words, his defense was to destroy everything in front of him with brute force. The best defense is offense. This guy, his blade doctrine is extremely offensive, which has made his attacks unbelievably powerful, Jian Wushuang exclaimed. This was still the case even when Bing Shan could not use the full power of his blade doctrine, as he was under the restrictions of heaven and earth. How powerful was he when he had used such extreme blade skills back in his prime? Jian Wushuang could not picture it. Die! 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 Bing Shan yelled madly. It was as though Bing Shan had been taken over by a demon. His blade skills were headed for infinity and beyond. Waves of terrifying blade skills, which were simple yet overpowering, headed for Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was stressed. Even though his sword skills were no match for Bing Shan's blade skills, Jian Wushuang thought he could stop the blades with the mixed elements spirit style from sword principal Xian Luo, as his divine power was far stronger than that of Bing Shan. He soon realized that Bing Shan's blade skills were not only overpowering, but also endless. The blade lights hit continuously without giving him a chance to take a break. When Jian Wushuang chose to use mixed elements spirit to fend off the attacks, he knew he would be on the passive end, as there was no way he could counterattack. Bing Shan would not give him a chance to do so. This man's blade skill is too terrifying. Jian Wushuang was completely shocked. The experts from the ancient past took a sharp breath when they saw this scene. Too powerful. Lord Bing Shan's blade skills are far too powerful. What kind of person is Lord Bing Shan? Even under the restrictions of heaven and earth, there is no way we can compare ourselves to him. His blade skills are really extreme. It goes purely for power and aims for infinity. Even though it is extreme, it is incredibly powerful. Unless you are in a higher realm than Lord Bing Shan, once you are suppressed, you will be suppressed until you are defeated. It seemed straightforward and dumb. However, once you reach Lord Bing Shan's level, you need not fear anyone anymore. The experts from the ancient past were all well educated. They knew clearly how overbearing Bing Shan's blade skills were. This type of blade skill or blade doctrine was so rare that it could be classified in a category of its own. However, these types of alternative blade skills were still fatal and powerful in a battle, just like in the battle against Jian Wushuang. Even though Jian Wushuang had incredible power and a decent understanding of the sword doctrine, once he decided to withstand Bing Shan's blade skills, he had to do it all the way till the end. Chapter 2267. Wounded in the battlefield before the eyes of many, Jian Wushuang was being pushed back. Despite that, Jian Wushuang seemed relatively calm. I trained in the sword doctrine trial tower for 1,000 years and reached initial success with my sword principle. But Bing Shan's saber principle at his pinnacle period is unfathomable. Even with the restrictions placed on the earth, he is still so much stronger than I had expected. His saber principle should be a great achievement, maybe near complete satisfaction by now. Jian Wushuang thought. Saber principle, great achievement, was the level Bing Shan could demonstrate. It may be slightly higher than Jian Wushuang, but Jian Wushuang knew deep inside that the small differences added up to a too big difference. His arrogant saber skills have completely suppressed me. I can only block him, but that way I cannot find a way to fight back if that's the case. Jian Wushuang's gaze turned cold. If resisting is not the way, I guess I need to fight fire with fire. Hua! Jian Wushuang pulled out his sword at lightning speed as the Blood Mountain sword cut a certain curvature across the void, like a ghost moving in the air. The sword was flexible and went straight for Bing Shan's throat. Jian Wushuang did not bother blocking Bing Shan's arrogant saber and let it strike at him. Dang! The saber struck Jian Wushuang's head, and a metallic sound could be heard. Jian Wushuang was wearing the 5-gem armor, greatly weakening the saber's power. Jian Wushuang let out a pained sound but recovered instantly. His sword light went straight for Bing Shan's throat. But before it pierced his throat, Jian Wushuang felt a large force of resistance surrounding Bing Shan's body. It was invisible, but Jian Wushuang felt it. It was formed entirely from his saber essence. It formed an armor of saber essence. His sword only knows how to attack, but that's not his full potential. He has a powerful protection secret skill with him, and that is how he defends. Jian Wushuang said, "If Bing Shan only had scary attack abilities, Jian Wushuang would not be too worried. But he has an armor formed from saber essence as his self-defense mechanism. That would prove tough to settle. Die!" Bing Shan's eyes were bloodshot and cut down towards Jian Wushuang frenzied. Jian Wushuang's face darkened, and he retreated. As he retreated, xiao, 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 9 streaks of golden light emerged. Those were Jian Wushuang's 9 Hongjun golden swords. Not only were they powerful, but they were fast as well, and appeared in front of Bing Shan within an instant. And they came for Bing Shan in all directions. Hongjun golden swords. Bing Shan seemed to be in a frenzy, but he had absolute clarity, recognizing the swords immediately. Ha! If you could form the first formation with those swords, you could make a dent. But you can't even do that, and you want to block me? Bing Shan laughed disdainfully. His saber did not stop. Endless saber light was still heading towards Jian Wushuang, and he did not block the 9 Hongjun golden swords. His saber skills only know how to attack. Dang, 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 dang. The 9 Hongjun golden swords struck his saber essence armor. Without piercing him, the swords were all deflected by his armor. What a scary self-defense secret skill. My Hongjun golden swords did nothing to it. Jian Wushuang was astonished. Boy, I told you, don't get cocky. You don't even know how big the world is, and you dare prevent Lord Lung from heading towards the absolute beginning divine world. A joke, Bing Shan said. Is it? Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold and rushed out like a ghost. Cut! Bing Shan returned to his saber and cut down. The dark void was instantly split into half. Shimmering saber light appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's pupils shrank at the sight of the saber light, but he had no intention to defend. If blocking meant being suppressed, he would rather take the blow. Looking for death. Bing Shan was enraged. Looking for death. Ha ha, you are the true myopic one. Your self-defense mechanisms are strong, but mine is 1,000-fold better. Jian Wushuang bellowed and allowed the saber to cut down at him. Jian Wushuang shuddered for a moment. Soon his sword pierced out. An ordinary, powerless blade. But as it pierced the void, an enormous reincarnation power started exuding outwards. Sword principle. Samsara. Bing Shan did not block it either. He had absolute confidence in his saber essence armor. He believed Jian Wushuang could not hurt him in any way. As the cold blade touched his saber essence armor, the reincarnation power was exuded. It was a strange power. The saber essence where the sword tip touched, the armor started transforming. The strong sword essence from before had reverted to the saber principle origin. Yes, the origin. Saber essence had been formed with saber principle origin. Under the influence of the reincarnation power, that small area of saber essence reverted back to the origin. The armor disintegrated. What? Bing Shan could feel something was not right, but it was too late. Chi. The cold blade struck Bing Shan's body without interference. A hole was made in his body. It only hurt his skin and bones. Nothing vital, but without a doubt, Jian Wushuang had injured Bing Shan. Chapter 2268. Reincarnation in the Void. Both Jian Wushuang and Bing Shan stopped whatever they were doing. Jian Wushuang stood there coldly. Bing Shan stood there as well. By then his murderous intent and frenzy had dissipated. He stood there frowning as he watched blood oozing out from his body. The surrounding ancient era experts were shocked. Lord Bing Shan is injured. How? It's Lord Bing Shan. One step away from being master of Holy Land, Lord Bing Shan was injured by a chaotic realm rascal. Unbelievable. The ancient era experts were all in awe. If they had not witnessed it for themselves, they would not have believed it. As ancient era experts, they knew how strong Bing Shan was. Bing Shan's saber skills were powerful, and he not only knew how to attack, his self-defense mechanism was even more terrifying. That combination of saber skills and saber essence armor made him famous in the absolute beginning divine world. They had never expected him to get injured during the fight against Jian Wushuang. The armor did not block Jian Wushuang's sword. That blade. Bing Shan stared at Jian Wushuang as he felt his sword essence armor changing. You could use reincarnation rules of order to revert my sword essence back into the origin. It's not much, but you managed to injure me. Decent swordsmanship, even better reincarnation rules of order. Bing Shan knew that even though his swordsmanship was good, how he utilized reincarnation rules of order was even better. Jian Wushuang's realization of reincarnation rules of order was not high. Most likely he was new to it, but already he was very familiar with it. To apply reincarnation rules of order to swordsmanship and morph objects back to their original state was impossible even for higher experts from back in the absolute beginning divine world. Thank you. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold, and he was not delighted at all. He knew it was all thanks to One-Star Man's reincarnation pearl. The small-scale reincarnation within the pearl had helped Jian Wushuang tremendously. No, just in terms of realization, Jian Wushuang's usage of reincarnation rules of order had significantly improved over the past 3,000 years. Samsara was his strongest self-created skill. It is not the most powerful, but the terrifying part came with the reincarnation at the tip of his blade. He could make fauna reincarnate, along with natural materials. He could revert Bing Shan's sword essence, but only by a bit. But that was enough to give Jian Wushuang a shot. Guess I underestimated you. I thought I could defeat you, or at least suppress you under these restrictions. I never expected your reincarnation rules of order to make such a huge improvement across these 1,000 years. Even I can no longer defeat you. I may even lose to you, Bing Shan said. It was true. He had a perfect combination of attack and defense. His saber skills would destroy everything in his way. His saber essence armor would block everything else. It was a scary combination. But now, Jian Wushuang's samsara made his armor useless, losing his self-defense mechanism. Even though Jian Wushuang couldn't go against his saber skills, he had unbelievable self-defense mechanisms. Even if he were to absorb the full blow from Bing Shan, it would be Bing Shan who got injured first. I could defeat you, but I could never kill you, Jian Wushuang said. He knew that well. Bing Shan's fighting power was way stronger than that of any other divine demon he had even met, including old monster Jiao. Only Emperor 13 could be stronger than him. It was impossible for Jian Wushuang to kill him. Even though you are stronger than I imagined, I will keep to my word. Bing Shan stared at Jian Wushuang. As strong as you are only limited to this land, a chaotic realm like you could never go against those lords at the absolute beginning divine world. How will I know if I don't try? Jian Wushuang said. Bing Shan frowned, but did not say more. He looked at the ancient era experts and said, Guys, it should be clear why they would want to open the link passage for us. After hearing that, many ancient era experts looked confused. They had been trapped for too long a time, but the absolute beginning divine world had never really cared about them. Most of the ancient era experts were at most chaotic divine demons, which meant they were nothing but ants to the masters of Holy Land. The only person one could consider not an ant would be Bing Shan. Because of that, the experts at absolute beginning divine world never bothered about them. When they opened the link passage in the first era, they did not wake the experts thereup. It had always been the case, and the chaotic divine demons knew. But now, the absolute beginning divine world had opened the link passage for them to escape. But where had this opportunity come from? The ancient era experts looked at the masked, white-clothed woman at the center of the void. Chapter 22, 69 Public Wrath Above the Void. No one could decipher the white-clothed woman Lung Ruksha's reaction due to her veil, but her brows showed nothing but mockery. The ancient era experts started talking amongst each other. They knew they owed it to Lung Rushue. Lung Rushue, with her heavenly body, was the lineal disciple, if that master of Holy Land back at the absolute beginning divine world. And that master treated her with incomparable importance. The reason why the master of Holy Land would sacrifice so much to open the link passage was only to bring Lung Rushue back. The ancient era experts simply hitchhiked. Since the link passage was already open, they felt they might as well bring everyone back. Seems like you all are aware. Bing Shan looked around and smiled. Lord Lung is the reason why the link passage will open. If Lord Lung's stuck here, do you really think you will be able to return to the absolute beginning divine world? Even if you do, what do you think the master will do to you? Bing Shan's words shocked many. It was what they had been worrying about. The main purpose was to bring Lung Rushue over to the absolute beginning divine world. If they left her and departed, they would definitely suffer the wrath of the master. The ancient era experts made their decision. Figures gradually approached from the edges of the void. In an instant, they had surrounded Jian Wushuang at the center. The ancient era experts had their eyes all fixed on Jian Wushuang. Sword Emperor, we should not go over your personal grievances with Lord Lung, but since it is only due to her that we can leave. You know what I mean? A magnificent voice came from Qin Chi. Qin Chi had followed Old Monster Jiao to attack Thunderbolt Island, but had been obliterated by Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai. Jian Wushuang's powers struck fear into Qin Chi as well. But despite that, he was in no position to back down. Previously, it had been to return Old Monster Jiao a favor, but now it was for the smooth departure from the land. The other ancient era experts felt similarly. Sword Emperor, we are not willing to be your enemies, but we have no choice. After so many years of slumber, if I don't take this chance to escape, I will die in my sleep. Keeping Lord Lung here means keeping all of us here. Sword Emperor, we hope you can make the right decision. Sword Emperor, please don't push us down that road. Threatening words came from their mouths, one by one. The ancient era experts were all determined. As they had said, keeping Lord Lung would be to keep all of them there. They would never agree to that. Xiao, a figure appeared beside Jian Wushuang. It was Emperor Bai. Jian Wushuang, what should we do? Emperor Bai frowned as he glanced at all the ancient era experts. With Jian Wushuang and Bing Shan, he did not interfere, but he would certainly not back down knowing that everyone was targeting Jian Wushuang. They are right, blocking Lung Rushue would be to block all of them, pushing them to a dead end. But letting Lung Rushue would be pushing me to a dead end as well. Jian Wushuang was determined. He needed no second thoughts. He made his decision before arriving at heaven's horizon. And once a decision was made, Jian Wushuang would not waver. I said, I need to stay here regardless of the price. No one can stop me. That cold voice resonated across the land. Lung Ruksha's mockery grew more intense as she revealed a playful smile under her veil. The ancient era expert's eyes turned bloodshot. Don't blame us, Sword Emperor. Qinqi's voice was eerie cold. Let's take him down. Die. The ancient era experts did not hesitate. Without Bingshan, there were still 138 ancient era experts. At that moment, all 138 were charging towards Jian Wushuang from all directions. HNGH. Emperor Bai snorted as the shimmering, enormous golden emperor appeared behind him. At that moment, a golden-armored figure appeared around him. He had used both the 9-star armor and Punisher God. Jian Wushuang gazed upon the incoming ancient era experts. Although most of them were chaotic divine demons, hitting 3rd stage great emperor fighting powers at most, there were 10-odd experts beyond chaotic divine demon like Qinqi and old monster Jiao. Each of them was at half-step divine demon levels. Those in my way, prepare to meet your fate. Jian Wushuang was furious as he pulled out his blood mountain sword beaming with crimson light. A terrifying aura oppressed the entire area. War had broken out. Crap, the great emperors of the eternal chaotic world all witnessed it from a void not too far away. When they saw the ancient era experts charge towards Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai, their faces changed dramatically. But no matter how anxious they were, there was nothing much they could do. Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai had instructed them not to make any rash decisions. After all, they were only 1st stage and 2nd stage great emperors. Sending them to ancient era experts would be asking them to die. Chapter 22, 70 Chaotic Warfare. In a dark void, some distance away from the battlefield. Haha, the show has begun. A cheerful laugh resonated as more than a dozen figures stood around. They all had impressive auras, and the 1-star man was their leader. They had been at the void for some time already, but had not yet decided to reveal themselves. They were shocked when they witnessed the fight between Jian Wushuang and Bingshan. Now, they saw the war happening in front of their eyes as well. 100-odd experts, the weakest one a chaotic divine demon. They really embarrassed themselves using so many people against 2 chaotic realms. They have no choice. They can only demonstrate chaotic realm level powers anyway under the restrictions. If they go one-on-one, they will certainly die. 1-star man, the war has begun. Should we just watch? The dozen people looked towards 1-star man. No rush. The 1-star man waved his hand and said, "It's not time yet." The boys going against 100-odd chaotic divine demon experts. You're not worried? A gray-clothed old lady asked. Relax. The boy is tougher than he looks, and he learned inverse cultivation. It won't be that easy to kill him. The 1-star man smiled. He was confident in Jian Wushuang. The gray-clothed old lady raised an eyebrow. Seems like you know quite a bit about this boy, but what is the plan between you and that guy? Seems like the plan relies mostly upon the boy. The others all looked towards 1-star man. They had known for the longest time that the 1-star man had a plan, but only a few people really knew what it was about. Although they were 7-star black sect experts, they didn't have enough clearance. They simply followed orders. No rush, soon you will know, 1-star man replied. The gray-clothed old lady. And the others looked at each other but did not question further. The black void at heaven's horizon had already been immersed in the heat of war. Bingshan did not attack again and retreated back to Lung Rukshu's side. Lord Bingshan, how did it feel? Lung Rushua looked at Bingshan, a bit aggrieving. Bingshan looked at the place where Jian Wushuang had stabbed him. The wounds had recovered, but he could still feel the sting. Before going against Jian Wushuang, he had never expected Jian Wushuang to harm him. My saber essence armor was mainly divine power, supplemented with saber essence. But the restrictions reduced my divine power to chaotic realm levels. If I had even half-step divine demon divine powers, the armor would have never been penetrated by the Sword Emperor. Bing Shan said, Jian Wushuang's samsara was unique with its reincarnation techniques, but in the eyes of Bing Shan, it was no more than a parlor trick. Unfortunately, under the restrictions, parlor tricks were enough to injure him. That was why Bing Shan felt aggrieved. I underestimated him, but it's okay. It'll all end the same. The divine demons would block him all the way, maybe even kill him. With them blocking, Sword Emperor would have no way to reach to you. Bing Shan said, May not be that way. Lung Rushua shook her head. May not. Bing Shan looked over astonished. You think Sword Emperor could survive the divine demon's attack? More than just survive. He's an inverse cultivation after all. Lung Rushua laughed. Watch. Bing Shan was astonished, but did not ask anything further and spectated the fight. There were 138 ancient era experts making their moves on Jian Wushuang at the same time from all sides, and they all demonstrated their abilities. They did everything they could. Some sealed space-time to restrict his movements. Some formed great divine powers to press against Jian Wushuang. Some used long-range divine weapons like the Hongjun golden swords against Jian Wushuang, and some directly charged against him. Some used soul attacks. The widespread attack went for Jian Wushuang at immense speeds. Jian Wushuang's eyes were gleaming. The blood mountain sword in his hand let out a loud scream as the sword essence pierced him. Scram! A loud sound followed by endless divine power swept from the blood mountain sword. The sweep was like a multicolored sword river in the sky, and the sword river was fierce and roared upon impact. Several attacks directly bounced out. Space-time seals were destroyed, and billowing divine powers retreated in an instant. Endless divine power came bursting from Jian Wushuang's body and formed a huge region around him. He had filled the region with chaotic divine demon-level divine power. With that around, the divine demons could not use any space-time or divine power suppression methods against him. Walala! A sword appeared from the heavens. It was a crimson sword. The person wielding it was a man beyond chaotic divine demon. The crimson light blocked the sun and went straight for Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang lifted his head, but did not pull out his sword. Instead, a huge sword essence concentrated in midair to form a sword shadow and slice it. Dang! A metallic collision could be heard, and the crimson sword bounced out. Hung! A ghost, billowed by nether light, appeared in front of Jian Wushuang, holding a battle sword. Shua! 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 3 times the man swayed his battle sword. The first sword went for his throat. The second went for his heart. The third went straight for his skull. Chapter 22, 71 Revenge Kill. What a strange saber skill. Jian Wushuang's face darkened, but he did not slow down one bit. Power of space-time rolled out as Jian Wushuang moved like a phantom, easily avoiding all 3 saber lights. He had just found his composure. Wung, a strong soul attack, was charging towards him. It had been performed by a chaotic divine demon not too far away. The chaotic divine demon was best at soul attacks, but he could only perform 3rd stage Great Emperor levels under the restrictions on the Earth. But Jian Wushuang had his 5 gem armor, soul-swallowing pearl, and his own strong soul power. The soul attack dissipated without even making Jian Wushuang frown. As Jian Wushuang was being soul attacked, a black shadow appeared before him. The black shadow held a dark, eerie dagger oozing with black liquid. It was poison. Die! A devious smile could be seen from the face of that shadow as the dagger went straight for Jian Wushuang's skull. At such a close distance, at such high speeds, Jian Wushuang could not have possibly avoided it. But at that moment, boom. His mind went blank. He was being soul attacked by Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's soul attack was being complemented by his own soul power, the golden light scripture from the three divine lights, and the soul-swallowing pearl. Only half-step divine demons could block it. Chaotic divine demons had no way to resist. The black shadow's eyes turned hollow and paused right there. The dagger did not move an inch either. Xiao! A golden light went bursting by. It was the Hongjun golden sword, slicing the black shadow down. That was the end of the black shadow. Under the attack of so many ancient era experts, Jian Wushuang did not die immediately, but had taken one down instead. Now Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship was at full speed. Hua! 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 The swordsmanship seemed casual but was, in fact, unfathomable and sliced ancient era experts, complemented by his great divine power and perception abilities. There were too many ancient era experts for Jian Wushuang to block everything completely, so he did not bother to resist. As he was being attacked, he kept striking back. His soul attack was also on full blast. Careful! Watch out for his soul attack. His swordsmanship as well. Bullshit! With his soul attack, he won't be able to block it even if we chaotic divine demons took precautions. Then let's not give him the chance to attack one-on-one. In a fit of anger, the ancient era experts started teaming up. But soon they realized something. Jian Wushuang's self-defense mechanism was too strong. Indeed, Jian Wushuang was not able to block all of their coordinated attacks. That meant that Jian Wushuang was constantly being struck in vital places like his head. Even with his protective gear, the sheer power alone should have greatly injured Jian Wushuang. If it had been them, their holy bodies would have long ago collapsed, but Jian Wushuang had been struck more than 100 times since the battle had begun, but he showed no signs of collapsing. In fact, his aura has not been weakened at all. 100-odd attacks, but he's still fine? Don't talk about collapsing. How is he still uninjured? Impossible. The ancient era experts were all in awe. If they had inverse cultivation's 7th step, the perfect chaotic holy body, they would not have found it impossible. Jian Wushuang, with his perfect chaotic holy body, as long as he had enough divine power, would recover immediately no matter how bad the damage. Under attacks from at least a 3rd-stage great emperor, it was impossible for one not to get injured. Jian Wushuang seemed uninjured, but it was because he had recovered immediately with divine power. That kept his fighting power and aura at the pinnacle. Die! Jian Wushuang moved like a phantom as his blood mountain sword went for an ancient era expert's throat like a snake out of its hole. Crap! The ancient era expert was taken aback. By the time he could react, a great soul attack had struck him. Chi! The sword light had pierced his throat. Crap! The surrounding ancient era experts were all looking awful. That was the 8th expert Jian Wushuang had taken down. The battle had not been going on for long, but 8 ancient era experts had fallen. How terrifying was that? How could that be possible? Bing Shan frowned. If I received that much damage, I would have been severely injured by now. Not just him. Emperor Bai as well. Lung Rushua smiled. Bing Shan noticed the battlefield with Emperor Bai as well. Amongst the 138 ancient era experts, a significant number of them were going against Emperor Bai as well. Emperor Bai was in a similar situation to Jian Wushuang, but his aura had not decreased under the attacks. Inverse cultivation is indeed impressive, Bing Shan murmured. I said they could never kill Jian Wushuang. Holding him back is a different thing. Lung Rushue said. It's too early for that. Most of them have not given their all yet, Bing Shan said. Lung Rushue raised her eyebrow. Then, Wang. The heavens horizon shook as the ripples along it became more concentrated. There was greater movement. Chapter 2272. Invincible! Invincible! It's happening! Bing Shan's pupils shrank as he sensed the change at heaven's horizon. He roared, "The link passage is about to open. Don't waste any more time." The surrounding ancient era experts could sense the change at heaven's horizon as well. After listening to Bing Shan's roar, the ancient era experts' gazes became more fierce. Use all your trump cards to take him down. Give it your all. Ancient era experts had no intention to hold back anymore. Those absolute beginning divine world ancient era experts had all been very strong during their pinnacle and had many tricks behind their sleeve. They may not have gone that far if they were fighting normally under the restrictions. But things were different now that they had decided to give it their all. The remaining ancient era experts had started giving it their all. Strong auras started emerging. Many ancient era experts had started using secret skills. Some even spewed blood essence to boost their powers. Trump cards were being used one by one. Soon, the ancient era experts made their move. One by one, they displayed their trump cards. Solidifying Blood, Divine Finger, Godslayer Spear, Nanine Divine Light, Sanguis Demon Interfectum. Terrifying attacks were coming in from all directions. They were all so much stronger than the ones Jian Wushuang had endured. This was the ancient era experts trying their very best. Every attack was outrageously strong. Jian Wushuang stood at the center of the void as he felt the waves of attack heading towards him. He could only block a few, but the rest swallowed him like a tsunami. Hong long long. A terrifying roar resonated across the earth, along with a strong divine power storm. The vast void along the heavens horizon was completely surrounded by the divine power storm. Far from the battlefield, the eternal chaotic world great emperors were all dumbfounded by the sight. That's too terrifying. Those ancient era experts could all demonstrate third stage great emperor abilities if they all used their trump card. Sword Emperor, will he make it? The eternal chaotic world great emperors had full confidence in the Sword Emperor and Emperor Bai. Based on their understanding, they were invincible. But now, they were not so sure. At that moment, they could still see a figure at the center of the battlefield. It was Jian Wushuang, and he was dissipating. He had collapsed. Jian Wushuang's holy body had completely collapsed. This eternal chaotic world great emperors were all stunned. The ancient era experts were all elated. Is he dead? The ancient era experts heaved a sigh of relief. Jian Wushuang was only a chaotic realm expert, but they had stressed out the ancient era experts pretty well. But now, after the ancient era experts had all teamed up and given it their best, Jian Wushuang had finally succumbed to the attacks. Looks like he's dead. Bing Shan held his hands together as he stared at the battlefield. Don't get too excited. Lung Rushue smiled. Huh. Bing Shan was confused. Jian Wushuang's holy body had already collapsed. What else could happen? As the divine power storm dissipated, the earth slowly calmed down. Jian Wushuang was no longer in the spot where he had used to be. He must have collapsed under the attack of all the ancient era experts. And that was the case. Under the attack of so many experts, collapsing was the only way it would end. But did it mean that Jian Wushuang was dead? The next moment, large amounts of divine power was condensing at that void. After a moment, a perfectly intact figure reappeared. Jian Wushuang was still holding his sword, his aura unhindered. How is that possible? We destroyed his holy body. The ancient era experts were dumbfounded. They saw his body collapse, but at the very next moment, his body reformed, and he was still uninjured. This ability, he has the body of undying. Qin Shi, who had fought against Jian Wushuang, once said, "I searched through Emperor Bai and Sword Emperor's information. Both of them are inverse cultivators and had their holy bodies collapse before. Now it is apparent they are undying." Body of undying? The ancient era experts froze. Body of undying was a power only undying saints could attain in the absolute beginning divine world. It was a terrifying ability, the best life-saving means around. They had all witnessed undying saints collapsing, then reforming. But those were undying saints. Jian Wushuang was only a chaotic realm. How could he have possessed undying saint abilities? How was that possible? Body of undying. Bing Shan froze as well. He knew how terrifying the body of undying was. He had it himself. Unfortunately, under the restrictions, he could not use it at all. But Jian Wushuang, a chaotic realm rascal, had the body of undying and was restricted by the formation that bound the earth at all. Now, I know why you said those chaotic divine demons would not kill Sword Emperor. Bing Shan looked deep into Lung Ruksha's eyes. The latter smiled. She had witnessed Jian Wushuang an emperor by reforming before. She knew they had the body of undying. With superb skills and bodies of undying, Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang were invincible in those lands. Chapter 2273, Saint Soul. Elder Shihua, not only was he so strong, but he had the body of undying as well. They had all done their best to destroy Jian Wushuang's holy body. For that, many of them had paid heavy prices to demonstrate those moves. They had barely managed to do it once, much less a second time. But Jian Wushuang's body of undying could reform a countless amount of times. They could never kill Jian Wushuang. Invincible. Invincible. The ancient era experts were howling. Indeed, Jian Wushuang was invincible in their eyes. There was nothing the ancient era experts could do to him. Suddenly, boom, the earth shook suddenly as a faint light emerged from the dark and foggy heavens horizon. The faint light grew brighter. Indistinctly, a familiar aura emerged from the other end of the light. The aura of the absolute beginning divine world. The ancient era experts all sensed it and immediately went fanatical over it. It has begun. The few masters have created a gap for the link passage. At this rate, it won't take long for the entire link passage to emerge. The ancient era experts were all extremely excited. Bing Shan's eyes turned cold, and he howled, "The link passage will open soon, but no one is to enter before Lord Lung. The only way to enter the link passage is to block the Sword Emperor with your life. After Lord Lung enters, do as you please." The ancient era experts went into a frenzy upon hearing it. Countless bloodshot eyes were staring at Jian Wushuang. Undoubtedly, Jian Wushuang was impossible to kill, but all they needed to do now was to block Jian Wushuang. They could definitely do that. Let's go. We need to trap him. Don't give him a chance to escape. We need to let Lord Lung go first. The ancient era experts said it again, but this time they had no intention of killing Jian Wushuang. They simply needed to trap him. Ancient era experts had various killing tactics and even more ways to entrap people. The sheer number of ancient era experts flooded Jian Wushuang beyond comprehension. It would be unrealistic for Jian Wushuang to be able to break through. Lung Ruxue and Bing Shan stood side by side as they watched the light grow brighter from within the gray mist. A link passage gradually appeared, but it was still narrow and unstable. As long as the link passage stabilized, they could step through directly. But At that moment, One Star Man and the others in the void made their move. Guys, it's our turn. One Star Man looked around with dazzling eyes. Haha, finally. It's been so long since I stretched my bones. Let's go. 10 odd streaks of flowing light flew in from the void and directly into the battlefield. Ha! 3 big holy lands for big holy tribes, 8 big holy sex rascals. Come meet the Saint Soul. A burst of hearty laughter was made by a thin old man in a black robe. His eyes were eerily gray, and a gray fire seemed to burn from within, making him look extremely devious. As the laughter echoed, a horrifying soul power billowed through the surrounding ancient era experts. Under that power, many weak chaotic divine demons lost consciousness and fainted upon contact. Only stronger chaotic divine demons and beyond could resist it. What a strong soul attack, stronger than Sword Emperors. The ancient era experts that had managed to stay awake were shocked. Jian Wushuang's soul attack was strong, but its power could only be felt when concentrated into one-to-one attacks against chaotic divine demons. If he were to spread that soul power around, it would do minimal damage to surrounding ancient era experts. But now, the skinny old man did as such, and half of the chaotic divine demons fainted. How strong was that soul attack? It's Saint Soul. It's him. The old man's not dead. The ancient era experts were angered upon hearing that name. Saint Soul was one of the strongest experts in the 7-star black sect, Ancient Era. He had been named a saint for his undying saint abilities and received the title Soul for his mastery in soul power. Even back at the absolute beginning divine world, very few undying saints could have surpassed him in terms of soul power. Thankfully, due to the restrictions, his soul power could only be maintained at chaotic realm levels, unable to display its full power. Without the restrictions, he would have killed thousands of chaotic divine demons immediately. HNGH, little soul, you stole my thunder, said the gray-clothed old lady. Ha ha, I could never, Elder Shihua. Saint Soul laughed respectfully. Chapter 2274. Solo Confrontation. Elder Shihua. It is Elder Shihua. Oh my God! The divine demons from the ancient past were stunned. Saint Soul was only a top-tier undying saint, but Elder Shihua was a legend in the undying saint realm. She was extremely old and had been very famous within the absolute beginning divine world even before Saint Soul started cultivating. She was known as one of the most terrifying undying saints. No one knew how powerful she really was, as she rarely engaged in combat. Even Saint Soul was weaker than Elder Shihua. Ha ha! I never thought that there would still be youngsters who remembered me after so many years. Elder Shihua smiled. Her eyes radiated coldness. Watch out! A loud yell was heard, just when the experts from the ancient past were taking some precautions. A silver ray of light streaked across the battlefield. It was so fast that the 3 experts from the ancient past died, without having any time to react. A hole appeared in their chests. Their divine bodies withered before they could cry out as it turned into dead bodies instantly. Hiss! The experts from the ancient past took a sharp and cold breath. They looked at the silver ray of light, which was now sitting on the shoulder of Elder Shihua, in surprise. It was a small, silver snake with light spots. It was this snake which had killed 3 experts from the ancient past instantly and sucked their bodies dry. It is Elder Shihua's snake, flower god. It is extremely venomous. Legend has it that if you ever come into contact with its poison, you will become a dead, withered corpse immediately. Looks like the legends were true, one of the experts from the ancient past said in shock. There were other experts who came along with Saint Soul and Elder Shihua. They too attacked. They were recognized immediately when they used their incredible fighting power. Saint Ice Flame, Old Monster Mang, Emperor Man. These were famous people back in the absolute beginning divine world, and all of them stood in front of these experts from the ancient past. There were top-tier experts from the seven-star Black Sect. The weakest of them was in the Undying Saint realm. The only people from the seven-star Black Sect who had survived the great battle of the ancient past were in the Undying Saint realm. Anyone weaker than that got massacred. These experts had also gone into deep slumber within this heaven and earth and had just awakened today. Even though they had the advantage in terms of numbers, the experts from the ancient past were all extremely cautious and frightened when they were fighting against these 10 experts in the Undying Saint realm. There were mere divine demons. Even if some of them were in realms more powerful than that, they were still far away from the Undying Saint realm. In their primes, any one of these Undying Saints would have been able to massacre them easily. Even though they were under the restrictions of heaven and earth, the fighting power they had were still much greater than the divine demons from the ancient past. When these 10 Undying Saints entered the battlefield, the tide of the battle turned instantly. "Little one, we can handle these people. Go and do what you need to do." Elder Shihua looked over at Jian Wushuang and said after she killed another divine demon, "Thank you, fellow seniors." Jian Wushuang thanked them gratefully. "No problem." Elder Shihua waved her hand and said. Jian Wushuang turned and left without hesitation. Previously, the experts from the ancient past had had him preoccupied and not given him any chance to leave. But now, Elder Shihua and the other experts came and stopped these experts from the ancient past. Jian Wushuang was now free to do as he wished. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang's figure blinked, and he appeared in front of Lung Rushue and Bing Shan instantly. Jian Wushuang scanned the heavens horizon behind him and realized the passageway had almost completely opened. However, it had yet to stabilize. "There is still time," Jian Wushuang thought as he clenched his fists tightly. Bing Shan turned pale when he saw Jian Wushuang appear in front of him. He immediately stood in front of Lung Rushue and said, "Sword Emperor, if you want to stop Palace Master Lung, you will have to pass through me first." A ray of killing intent flashed through Jian Wushuang's eyes. However, before he could attack, another voice was heard. "Ha ha, Bing Shan, you have the audacity to interrupt the private matters of two youngsters?" A hearty laugh boomed as a figure appeared beside Jian Wushuang. It was an elder who seemed peaceful. It was One-Star Man. "Senior One-Star Man," Jian Wushuang said in greeting. He was not surprised when One-Star Man appeared. He knew that One-Star Man was the one who had called experts like Elder Shihua over to help. "One-Star Man, is it you?" Bing Shan looked over at One-Star Man with a serious expression. There had been many powerful experts in the seven-star Black Sect back in its prime. The most famous of them all were the 7 stars, which represented 7 top-tier experts. The strongest among them was Emperor 13, who could have gone against even the Master of Holy Land. The other 6 might not be as powerful as Emperor 13, but they were all very close to the Master of Holy Land realm. Even though Bing Shan and these people were similar in the realms they were in, their fighting power was far inferior. Any one of the 7 stars could wreck him in a battle. Even though the One-Star Man was not part of the 7 stars, Bing Shan knew well that One-Star Man was very close to him in terms of fighting power. He was a candidate to be one of them. He was definitely a fierce enemy. "Bing Shan, your opponent today is me. I will not let you hinder these 2 little ones." One-Star Man smiled and said with absolute confidence. Bing Shan's face turned dark. He knew how powerful One-Star Man was. If One-Star Man gave it his all to stop him, there was no way he could divert his attention and care about Lung Rushue. The other experts from the ancient past were all busy dealing with people like Elder Shihua. There was no way they could help out. This meant that Lung Rushua had to face Jian Wushuang alone. However, Jian Wushuang was extremely powerful. Lung Rushua interrupted Bing Shan's thoughts as she said, "Lord Bing Shan, you can put all your attention on One-Star Man. There is no need to worry about me." "What, Palace Master Lung?" Bing Shan knitted his eyebrows and was about to continue when Lung Rushua interrupted him again. "Lord Bing Shan, you are underestimating me. Do not forget, I am my master's lineal disciple." Lung Rushua waved at him and said, Chapter 2275 Jian Wushuang, and Lung Rushua Lung Rukshu's words got Bing Shan thinking. He immediately recalled his lord from the absolute beginning divine world before nodding his head. Indeed, that lord's vision was incredible. Lung Rushua had to be very different and unique if the Lord was willing to accept her as a lineal disciple and pay a hefty price to bring her back from the sealed-off heaven and earth back to the absolute beginning divine world. Even though Jian Wushuang was incredibly powerful, Lung Rushua should have no problem staying alive, since she was that Lord's disciple. Bing Shan thought of this, and hesitated no longer. His figure flickered as he appeared at one side of the vast space. "One-Star Man, you are almost on the same level as the 7 stars. Let me see how strong you really are," Bing Shan said coldly. "Ha ha, as you wish." One-Star Man laughed heartily as he too appeared in that vast space. These two powerful experts started their fight. They fought each other fairly, and no more dared to interrupt. Now, that Bing Shan and One-Star Man were headed for the vast space at one side. The only people left at heaven's horizon were Jian Wushuang and Lung Rushua. They stood apart, looking at each other. "Jian Wushuang, I never thought that there would be a day that we would face off against each other." Lung Rushua looked at Jian Wushuang playfully. "I have been waiting for this day for a very long time, since you took over Rushwang's body and left the green fire world tens of thousands of years ago. I predicted this day would come." Jian Wushuang looked at Lung Rushua coldly and indifferently. "Is that the case? I already took notice of you when you entered the eternal chaotic world and made yourself known. At that point in time, I could have killed you easily without giving you the chance to become stronger, much less become who you are today." Lung Rushua raised her eyebrows and said. Jian Wushuang's face turned dark. He knew she was speaking the truth. Lung Rushua had been in the eternal chaotic world for quite some time before he came. She had joined the Holocaust sect and had incredible status and techniques. If she had used the power of the Holocaust sect to assassinate him, he would already have died. "Do you know why I have yet to kill you and have allowed you to live until today?" Lung Rushua smiled. "Rushuang," Jian Wushuang said softly. "Smart. Even though I have suppressed that dumb woman's consciousness, and she does not usually get in my way, she would resist with all her might if I were to do something that would harm you. This would cause great trouble for me. Hence, I allowed you to continue to grow," Lung Rushua said playfully. "However, I did not expect you to grow so powerful so quickly. By the time I had complete control over this body, with the help of my master and the opportunities she left behind, you had already grown, and it was extremely difficult to kill you at that point in time." Even though Lung Rushua said this casusely, Jian Wushuang's heart was trembling. "Rushuang, even though she is suppressed, she is still trying her best to protect me?" Jian Wushuang clenched his fists tightly, to the point where his nails were biting into his flesh. "That dumb woman is asleep right now. Even if I were to kill you now, she would have no idea. Even if she knew, there is no way she will cause any trouble for me anymore. However, it is still troublesome that we share this body together. I tried to wipe away her consciousness, but I was afraid that I would be wounded as well, since we share a common body. Hence, she is still alive." However, Lung Ruxa's tone suddenly changed. Jian Wushuang, do you know what the first thing I will do after I reach the absolute beginning divine world is? Jian Wushuang turned pale. Haha, looks like you've guessed it. Yes, the first thing I will do is to ask my master to help me wipe out her consciousness. Given how powerful my master is, she can wipe her out without having any negative effects on me, even if we share the same body. At that point in time, this body will be truly mine, and I will not need to share this body with that dumb woman anymore. Lung Rushua laughed hysterically. Jian Wushuang's expression turned extremely cold. An extremely strong killing intent started gathering around Jian Wushuang. What, are you angry that I am going to wipe out your wife's consciousness? Do you want to suppress me? Do you have the ability to do so? Lung Rushua burst out laughing. Jian Wushuang then exhaled lightly. His face became calm, and he said, the reason you talked so much was to buy time for the passageway to fully open. If you anger me, it will be much easier to escape into that passageway. Do you think I will fall into your trap? Lung Ruxu's smile faded. As she smiled once again, looks like you saw through my plan. So what? Do you think you can stop me? Of course. Jian Wushuang grunted as he attacked. With a simple dash, he appeared in front of Lung Rushua. The Blood Mountain sword in his hand slashed towards her head with incredible penetrating power. Xiao! The cold blade passed through Lung Ruxu's head, but there were no bloodstains at all. Hee, you really are ruthless. Your wife also resides in this body. You both are married. There is a saying, a couple should have deep affection for each other, even if they are together for only a short period of time. You should hold back a little to ensure that your wife's body is not destroyed. Lung Rushua appeared in the space to one side, as she said playfully, she is so fast. Jian Wushuang was surprised, but his vision became sharper and more resolute. If the body is destroyed, I can find another one. What I want is my wife's consciousness, her soul. Jian Wushuang said coldly as a wave of powerful sword essence swept out in all directions. Whoosh! The entire battlefield became a vast ocean filled with sword essence. The sword ocean spread far and wide, and Jian Wushuang was the master within this ocean. Jian Wushuang's eyes were bloodshot as the Blood Mountain sword in his hand turned crimson red. Whoosh! A crimson sword light burst forth as it dyed the entire heaven and earth red. This battlefield turned dark crimson red. This sword light stirred the power of the ocean of sword essence and appeared in front of Lung Rushua immediately. Sword Principal Shen Luo, Sanguis Extremis style.